Oh my goodness. It has finally arrived. Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 2019 NFL Draft Party here on the Louie T Network. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me on this 3 to 4 hour journey that we're about to embark upon here as the 2019 NFL Draft is underway. And the commissioner will come out any second now, open up the draft to the Arizona Cardinals, put them on the clock, and we will get underway. And like I said on the pregame, this is one of the most anticipated drafts in recent memory because of so much intrigue and suspense at the top of the draft. We really don't know. And what happens at the top of the draft is going to set the table for what's to come down the road in this draft. So when you think about the ramifications of Murray going one or not going one, it could throw off the entire chemistry of this draft. If he goes number one, then I think we can kind of put all the pieces together as to what's going to transpire next. Obviously, trades throw a wrench into that. But if Murray doesn't go one, all hell breaks loose. I mean, now you got teams that didn't think they had a chance to get their hands on Kyler Murray scrambling to try to see if they can put together a package to maybe move up to get their hands on Kyler Murray. That includes the Oakland Raiders at 4, who seem to be very, very enamored with him. You just don't know. And the Raiders are a huge wild card at 4. What the hell are they going to do? There's so much intrigue. The Jets won out of 3 desperately. The 49ers have been very quiet and mum all day. And they could be a team that hasn't said 2 words this whole process, and they could get out of 2 when it's all said and done if Murray goes 1 and Bosa's sitting there at 2, and the Raiders are desperate to get their hands on Nick Bosa, as was reported earlier today. There's so many different things that could happen. Then you get out of the top 5 or get into the top 5 situation with Tampa Bay at 5. If you watch my video on Devon White, he's not a top 5 pick in my estimation. I'd go with the other Devon, as in Devin Bush, over Devon White. So there's so many different things to unpack in this draft. I can't wait to see what happens and start talking about where these players are going to land. The intrigue and the suspense is killing me. I love this stuff, and I know a lot of you do as well. And this draft, to me, has so much intrigue because we just don't know. And the unknown, when it comes to the draft, it's so juicy because generally we do know. We think we know, but I think in this case of this draft, we have no idea what is about to take place. And I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining me here live. You could be anywhere else. I mean, obviously you've probably got your televisions on, but you're still in front of the computer screen. You're still in front of your cell phone or whatever device, tablet, what may have you, watching your man Louie T. I can't thank you enough. There's so many options out there on YouTube and on like I said, on television, and you're here chopping it up with me, your man, Louie T, and I greatly appreciate that. And I want you to know that I'm not taking that for granted. So thank you guys for joining me tonight as we talk about the 2019 NFL Draft. Cardinals are up first. And what they do, again, will set the table for what's to happen. What will the Giants do at 6? Will they take an edge rusher and get that out of the way? Or will they go Daniel Jones? Or maybe Haskins is the guy. We have dismissed the thought process that maybe Haskins is their guy at 6. I think it's either Jones or an edge rusher. But the Giants offseason has been so crazy and helter-skelter. Do we really think we have any idea what the hell Dave Gettleman is up to? At this point, you can't think you know. And so, again, so much intrigue in this draft. I think the only pick that I feel really confident about in the top, outside of 1, I still think Kyler Murray's going 1 overall. Outside of that, I still think the only pick that I really have a good feel on, I still think the 49ers are taking Bosa. But I think the Jags are going to take Jonah Williams. That's the only one I feel really good about in the top 10. Outside of that, I think all hell could potentially break loose with this draft. And so I'm anxious to see how this ultimately goes as we really get into the meat and potatoes of this draft. And I'm so excited. Feel like we've been talking about this draft. And this is how it is every year with the draft. This is no different. You feel like you've been talking about the draft for 10 months and it finally gets here. You're all excited. A lot of people are going to walk away disappointed with what their team has done in the draft. And some people are going to be really ecstatic about what their team was able to do after nights 1 and 2. And then, you fill out the rest of your roster with day 3. And then you kind of, after it's all done and the dust settles, smoke clears, you go through the wreckage and you see what you were able to come out with. And so day 1 is huge because of all the players you draft, this is the guy you expect to have the biggest impact. Or in the case of the Packers and the Raiders, guys, Seahawks as well. Here comes the commissioner out to open the 2019 NFL draft for business. I guess we'll turn it up and hear what Raj has to say.
Good evening, Nashville.
So let's see what he's talking about.
To Music City, home of the
And let's see how many words he messes up. Because Raj gets real nervous when he gets up there. Starts effing stuff up.
We officially welcome the next generation of players in celebration.
So he's got, looks like Mean Joe Green, Tim Brown, and Marcus Mariota.
Before we get started,
That's what it looks like.
we have a special announcement.
Being that they're in Tennessee, that's why Marcus Mariota's there. And this is the NFL 100, as you know. So I'm assuming that's why they got Tim Brown and Mean Joe Green with them.
Who will assist with this moment? Hey, Marcus, you want to say something to your hometown crowd?
I think he brought Marcus out there just to calm him down so that they don't kill him. You know how the last couple places have absolutely booed the draws off of Roger Goodell. But Marcus Mariota, not the guy you want to step up to the mic. He's not going to be a rah-rah guy. So let's see what they have to say. They're really dragging this thing out. Just get the goddamn draft started, man. Let's see what you guys have to say, man. Let me get with some of these comments. Sounds like Raj ain't talking about a damn thing. So, all right, Sean Mack says, hey, my fellow Lab Room fam, if you want to join me, Nick and Matt on our text group chat, hit me up and let me know. So he just gave you guys the invite. Hit him up if y'all want to get in to what they have going on as well. Atlas says, Cardinals better take Murray. I don't like being lied to. Like I said, there is so much that goes into. I told you on the podcast that if the Cardinals don't take Murray number 1 overall, it will be the biggest job pulled ever in NFL draft history. They would deserve what is it? Is it a Golden Globe? What is it? An Emmy? I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. They deserve. I know it's not a Grammy. I know that's for music. They deserve a Golden Globe. We'll just go with that. I don't know. Oscar. That's what it is. They deserve an Oscar. Okay, that's what it is. Ali Side says, Lou, this is my 4th year watching the draft with you. Glad you're early this time. Okay, I get it. I hear your jokes. All right, I hear you. I hear your jokes. Yeah, generally I'm late to these things. I'm on time this year. All right, shoot me for being late. Anyway, let's see. Reese says, I had car trouble, Lou. Just barely made it back home in time. Hope your car is okay, man. Nothing worse than having a sick car, bruh. Hopefully you get that done and fixed up, because you got to have wheels, man. It's nothing like having your own wheels. Ali Side says, Lou, unrelated, but can you do a podcast trivia on the next episode, because I want my Raiders to go first in your prospect review. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know who won my college basketball, my challenge, my Bracket Busters challenge. I'm going to go back and check, but that's who's going to be first, whoever won that. And then after that, we'll see what we do after that. So in any event, JP says, finally, it's draft time. Let's see if Raj is done with all the chicanery.
Now, you guys ready to get started? The 2019 NFL Draft is now officially open.
The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. All right, now we are officially started. We've gotten all the nonsense out of the way, and now the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. What the hell will the Cardinals do? Jeremiah Belton says, damn, Haskins is in Gaithersburg. Me say no more. Storm says, welcome to the second biggest day of the NFL year. 0 games played, but we will all be floored regardless. Absolutely. Cardinals look pretty calm in that draft room, in that war room. They look like they already know what they're going to do, all right, at number one. They don't look like they picking up the phone. They look like they doing anything crazy. They look like they already know. They look real comfortable in that war room right there. Man, and this year I'm watching it on ESPN. I said I was going to give them a run this year because no Mike Mayock to keep me invested on the NFL Network coverage, and everyone tells me that the ESPN coverage is actually better than the NFL Network coverage. So I said I was going to give it a run and see what ESPN had to offer this year. Mandalorian Legion says, I hope my Bills get Oliver or TJ. Those are the two guys that I had you mocked to get. But obviously, Oliver seemed to be moving up draft boards. And TJ seems like the more realistic of the two options. If you trade out of 9, you're probably not going to get your hands on either one. So really, it depends on where you...
No idea how prophetic this might be when he said it.
There's no telling what the Bills are going to do. But if they move out, obviously, you're going to pick up more draft capital. But you're probably not going to come away with one of those two players. Zenny Dragon says, looking forward to seeing what the Packers do today. Hashtag Go Pack Go. Obviously, Packers with 2 first-rounders. Remember, they traded back in the first round last year, allowed New Orleans to come up and get Marcus Davenport. So they net that pick from the Saints. So they've got the 30th selection as well as the 12th selection in the 2019 NFL Draft. We'll see what the Packers do with those 2 picks. JP says, is this a league-altering draft, Lou? Every draft is league-altering. Obviously, you don't know who. We didn't know 2 years ago Patrick Mahomes was going to be the new face of the NFL and burst onto the scene the way that he did last year. I mean, the guy's going to be on the cover of Madden already after 1 year of football. And so hopefully the Madden curse doesn't exist when it comes to him. But nonetheless, every draft has the potential to be a league-altering draft because you don't know what kind of stars potentially could be blossoming and bubbling in these drafts. So obviously, if Kyler Murray is what we think he could be at the next level, yeah, he could be the next big thing in this league. And yeah, I mean, obviously, you could have a game-changing, league-altering type of player if you know someone comes out of the pack. Reese says, Miles Sanders is my Chris Godwin, Lou. A lot of people like Miles Sanders in this draft, the running back out of Penn State. Sean Mack says, where else would I be, brother? I always support you, as you definitely do, man. Big ups to my man Sean Mack for all the support he has with the movement of the Louie T Network. Hashtag Lab Room Fam. Reese, oh, yeah, if you're out there and this is your first time in this environment, anytime I do a live stream, if you want your comment read on the air, use the hashtag Louie T Live to have your comment read in the discussion of the chat area. So Reese says you can't beat that pre-pick jingle. You just can't. There aren't many things that I love about ESPN, but one of them is that doom 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 doom. You can't beat that. There's no beating that. Absolutely not. Ali Side says, Lou, how do you feel about the Tyreek Hill situation? I don't have any feelings about it. Look, the Chiefs knew what this guy was when they drafted him. He's been pretty clean since being drafted. This was his first hiccup since coming into the league. But he's had previous run-ins with situations with people that are close to him. I don't know if the man's innocent or guilty, so I don't try to play that game. But something happened, obviously. But they can't prove whether he did it or not. And so I'm not here to play jury, judge, or executioner. And so that's how I feel about that. Hit the like button, everybody. JP says, Joe Green is an old dinosaur, man. Hey, he's a legend nonetheless. Old or not old, the man is definitely a legend. Just Andre says, I'm on a major botch alert for skins. Hope I'm wrong. Man, I feel like you're probably not wrong, honestly speaking. I think a lot of us feel that way when it comes to the Redskins. And they're going to F this thing up somehow, some way. They're going to do something that's unbecoming of this first round pick. And it's going to make us all feel like we lost. And we already feel, as Redskins fans, like we're defeated. And and on the one day that you're supposed to feel excited, they're going to make us feel like we lost again. Oh, no! We suck again! I think that's how we're going to walk away from day one of the draft feeling. But I could be wrong. I, like you, go in with lowered expectations. I go in with low expectations, and you just hope they exceed them. Sean Mack says, this is the lying season. I don't believe a word from anyone this time of the year, LOL. I already tell you all the time, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man, Louie T. You know what time it is. You know everybody is lying through their teeth until proven right. So, you know what it is. Woodland Chrisfield says, any DMV prospect you are interested in for the second round? I already told you from my mock draft who I'm interested in. He might go in the first round, though. But Darnell Savage Jr. out of Maryland is the guy that I want in the second round. Doesn't look like he's going to make it to our second round pick. Doesn't even look like he may make it out of the first round. But again, as I've said numerous times, including on the podcast, there are 64 first round picks every single year. Every prospect that is talked about is a potential first round pick, because no one wants to say this guy's going to be a second round pick. So they all just throw out, hey, potential first round. Everyone can't go in the first round. Only 32 guys get to go in the first round. All right. No more, no less. Only 32 are going in the first round, not 64. So there are going to be some guys that get left out of the first round. So we'll see what happens. JP says, do you have wine ready? Nope. Actually, right now, am not drinking any alcoholic beverages until I get my six-pack back. So right now, I am not drinking alcohol. I'm not eating any bread. You know I'm already a vegan. So right now, I've got a lot of things going on because I'm going on a cruise in July. And I said I got to get my beach body back and be in shape for that cruise. So that's my goal right now. And I'm sticking steadfast to it. So no wine on deck. Just a nice, good old, healthy smoothie right here next to me as we watch this draft. Atlas says, just want to say this is bar none the number one show for the draft. Great job. Hey, I really appreciate that, Atlas. I really, really, genuinely do. Kevin says, which linebacker and safety best fits the Packers system? Obviously, the two linebackers at the top for me. If you watch my videos I released today, I told you that Devin Bush, not Devon White, is my number one linebacker in this year's draft. I know everyone's been selling and touting Devon White, and he's this and he's that. And the guy is uber athletic and talented. There's no denying that. I've already said this. Hold on. Mort is talking. Let's do that.
Manager of the Cardinals, that team was calling Quentin Williams of Alabama, defensive tackle, and Nick Bosa, the Ohio State defensive end, calling their reps to say you're still in discussion for number one. But the expectation around the league and in the top 10 is that they will absolutely take Kyler Murray. No, by the way, former Oklahoma coach Bob Stoops has joined current Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley here. I don't think they came here.
Look, man, Murray's going number one. Nobody's selling me on anything other than that. I don't believe for 1 second that Murray is going anything but one. But anyway, back to the Green Bay question. Excuse me. To me, Devin Bush fits any scheme. That's the guy that I would covet if I'm any team in the top 15. You can have Devin White. I want Devin Bush. If I'm Cincinnati, if I'm Green Bay, if I'm Tampa Bay, if I'm Oakland, all these teams that could use linebacker help. Denver Broncos, same thing. I want Devin Bush. You can have Devin White. And again, Devin White isn't a bad consolation prize. I want Devin Bush. So he would be the guy that I would tell you fits best in your system. And if you're talking, what other position did you ask me about? Safety. Being that you went out and got, hold on 1 second, the card has been turned in. Looks like the card is being turned in now. Being that in the offseason, you went and got Adrian Amos, I feel like you need a really in the NFL now, you're looking for guys that can do both, that can rock and roll. Amos is more of a free safety than he is a strong. So you're looking for a guy that could be a little bit more of a hammer to his nail, so to speak. But again, you want Amos to be able to come up. You want Amos to be able to play back. You want to be able to have interchangeable parts. You want your safety to be able to drop over the slot if he can. So again, there are a number of guys that would fit what you're looking to have happen. Jonathan Abram out of Mississippi State is a physical freak. He's a guy that just flies all over the field. Juan Thornhill is another athletically gifted safety that definitely will drop the hammer on you as well. You know how I feel about Darnell Savage Jr. and his versatility. Can play free safety, strong safety, and play over the slot. He could even play out wide in a pinch if you needed him to, running a 4.3, 840. So he's another guy that I absolutely love. Those are the three safeties off the top of my head. Obviously, there are a number of different guys. Okay, here comes Roger Goodell to the podium with the number 1 pick.
With the first pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Kyler Murray.
There it is. Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. I told you a long time ago when I did the video, Murray was going to be the number 1 pick. I couldn't see Murray not being the number 1 pick. You hired Cliff Kingsbury for this very reason, because Kyler Murray is the guy that he wanted. And back in October, and again, he didn't know this was going to come to fruition when he said it. He didn't know he was going to get fired from Texas Tech and ultimately become the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. But they were going to play the Oklahoma Sooners in the upcoming week. And he came out and said, if I had the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, I'd take Kyler Murray with the number 1 overall pick. There was no way he was going to be hired by Arizona and come in and not draft the guy that he's wanted to coach all along. He wanted to coach Kyler Murray in college, didn't get the opportunity to do it. He wants so badly to use Kyler Murray in his system. It just made too much sense. And I think this is an excellent pick for the Arizona Cardinals. And this could change the face of their franchise for many years to come, as Kyler Murray is the selection. And this is the look at my top quarterbacks available in this draft, and this is how this list looks. Obviously, Kyler Murray now off the list, and so you can go ahead and take Kyler Murray off this list, as he has been drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. And you already know how I feel about Kyler Murray and what this guy brings to the table. And I already talked about, the comp for Kyler Murray and all of the things that he brings to the table. But just in case you need a reminder, Kyler Murray is a guy that, to me, is a comp for Russell Wilson. And so Russell Wilson, thicker frame, as I mentioned before. Murray has a slender frame. That 207 pounds he came to the combine at, I don't know if that weight is going to actually stick. I think he did that in hopes of just kind of putting teams at ease. Really, he just needed to put Arizona at ease, because they were the team that he wanted to go to all along. Everyone wants to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Obviously, 49ers are now on the clock. We'll see what they decide to do. I think they're going to stay put and they're going to draft Nick Bosa, but that's just me. In any event, his frame isn't as thick as Russell Wilson's, but he's just as talented as Russell Wilson. And I look at Kyler Murray, and I think that this guy definitely has the tools necessary to be an elite quarterback at the next level. He was the one guy in this draft that everyone said, look, he's in a different category onto himself at the quarterback position. Russell Wilson is good, but Kyler Murray has a chance to be legendary. Their skill sets are similar, but he's more elusive, has a bigger arm than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a winner. He's already won a Super Bowl. And Russell Wilson is a big-time NFL quarterback. Let's not act as if he's not. And Kyler Murray has a long way to go to even scratch the surface and even be in the discussion with Russell Wilson. But if you're talking about an apples-to-apples comparison and a comp, Russell Wilson is as close as you're going to get. But there is no one in the league right now that looks, plays, or has the feel of a Kyler Murray. And so this is a big pickup for the Arizona Cardinals, as Kyler Murray goes number 1 overall in the 2019 NFL Draft. And we thought that that would be the case, but there was a lot of intrigue and suspense. But that has been laid to rest, as Kyler Murray is now an Arizona Cardinal. So big ups to the Arizona Cardinals for getting their guy at number 1. And as I mentioned before, Kyler Murray now gone off this list. So that leaves us with the remaining group of quarterbacks. And I don't expect another one of these guys to come off the board for another 4 to 5, possibly 6 to 7 picks. But we'll see what happens, as Kyler Murray is now number 1 overall. So let's now back in here. And no, there's not a trade. All right. Every time I do that screen, that to pop up, but there's no trade going on. I find that thing so I can stop it from doing that every time I come back, and then having all of these different windows open up. So here we go. I think we got it under control now. But that's a big time get there for the Arizona Cardinals. I think Bosa's going to be next. And then after Bosa, that's when the draft gets really interesting, I believe. Because at that point then, the Jets are on the clock, and they've made it very clear that they would like to trade out of the 3rd overall selection. I'm going to get to some of your comments here in a second. I'm trying to clean up some things that I should have cleaned up beforehand, but didn't get a chance to do it. It's been a busy week leading up to the draft, as you can imagine, trying to get as much done as possible leading up to this thing. But Murray is a guy that, and I said this, and I caught a lot of flack for this when I said this, when I made that video about Kyler Murray coming in. I think that Murray has a chance to turn the Cardinals around, not just in the future. I think he can come in and turn them around immediately. I mean, when you look at his skill set and some of the talent that they have, the pick is in for the 49ers. I truly believe it's going to be Nick Bosa. And I think things will get really interesting. So as of right now, I'm 1 of 1. Here comes the commissioner to the podium to announce the second pick.
With the second pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Nick Bosa.
There it is. Nick Bosa, second. That makes so much sense. They've went defensive tackle, seems like 4 of the last 5 years, 3 out of the last 5 years, 3 out of the last 4 years or so. This makes so much sense. They need pressure off the edge. He's going to give it to him. They got D Ford. Now you got Bosa on the other end. This could transform the 49ers defense from a solid group to a lethal group out there in Santa Clara. So this changes everything for the 49ers as they get an edge rusher that's going to come in and day one impact their defense in ways you cannot imagine. And so that is a big get for the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, the comp here is his brother, Joey Bosa. I talked about that on my video, that they're splitting images of one another. I think Joey's hand usage is slightly better, but Nick is right there. His feet and his hands are married together. They move in unison with one another, which is why he's so dominant. And he's going to come in right away, and I think he could easily bag 8 to 11 quarterbacks in his rookie season. He's got that kind of talent. And with D Ford on the opposite end, all right, that gives him some situations where he should get some one-on-one matchups and be able to take full advantage of those one-on-one matchups. You got to love what this pick does for the 49ers defensively in their front seven. Obviously, they could use an upgrade at linebacker because the whole Reuben Foster thing didn't work out the way that they intended. And we'll see if they're able to get a guy in this draft that can help them. But if you're looking at a front seven and a group that potentially can be dominant, look no further than the San Francisco 49ers after the selection of Nick Bosa. So let's go to some comments and see how you guys are feeling about the first 2 picks in the NFL draft. Cardinals taking Kyler Murray, Bosa going to the 49ers second overall. I'm 2 for 2 right now. All of you should be 2 for 2 right now. This is when shit gets interesting with the Jets and moving forward. I don't think the Jets are getting out. All right, the Jets have made it no secret that they want out. I don't foresee the Jets getting out. I told you in my mock draft that they're going to have to stay put. They want to get out. Everybody wants to get out, but few actually do get out. And I don't know if the Jets are going to get out. You know, what are you coming up for? If you're coming to number 3, what are you getting in front of the Raiders for? You don't know what the Raiders are drafting, so what are you getting in front of the Raiders for? So, again, I don't see how the Jets get out of number 3. Anyway, Cody Smith says, Murray 1, Bosa 2. Then after that, he said, shit is going to get crazy. I agree, and that's what I pretty much just said. Reese says, Make-A-Wish kids announcing my Bucks pick. That's awesome. Anytime they allow, kids like that to do these things, I think it's awesome as well, man. Tyler R says, do you think I don't know who Lions? Okay, Lions could go with a cornerback at 8 to have dual threats. I don't see a cornerback going in the top 10 of this draft. Frankly, I don't see a cornerback going in the top 20 of this draft, and it wouldn't shock me if a corner didn't go until the Steelers at 20. I believe the Steelers are at 20. I wouldn't be shocked if a corner didn't go off the board until 20 at Pittsburgh. I just don't see the cornerback position being of high importance in this draft initially. It'll heat up, but initially I don't see the cornerback position being one that you have to attack early on. Atlas says, what are your chances you give us another Daron Payne moment? Best of luck. I'm not going to do that tonight. Because last year, I was so hell-bent on the Redskins not doing that when it happened, my emotions got the best of me. I know that I'm preparing for the Redskins to do something stupid tonight. So whether they do or they don't, I'll be pleasantly surprised if they don't. If they do, I won't be shocked, and you won't get that out of me tonight. You're not going to get one of those tonight out of me. I've already told myself that something dumb could be in the works, and you need to be mentally prepared for that, and I am. So, no, not tonight. Good try, but not tonight. Let's see. See where we got some more comments. Atlas says, or Reese says, when they show these draft rooms, no one is ever doing anything. They're just all sitting there. It's amazing when you look at these draft rooms. Sometimes they're busy on the phones, working the phones, or calling their prospect to tell him that they're going to select him. But generally, at this point, your work is done. Unless you're trying to move out of that pick, you should already know who you're taking in the top, 5 of the draft. You've got a board. It's set with 5 guys. If you're at number 3, there's 3 guys on the board that's set. And one of those 3 guys are going to be there. And so when you get to your pick, you should pretty much know what you're going to do. Sean Mack says, forget the 6-pack. Get the pony keg, bro. Hashtag join the movement. I'm going to definitely pass on that. Atlas says, can you give a very brief summary of the secondary players for us and who you're high and low on? Sure. So I don't have my full secondary ranking yet. That's why I don't have a graphic for it. But I can tell you this. My number 1 corner in this draft is Greedy Williams. It's then followed by Rock Ya-Sin and then DeAndre Baker. Those are my top, DeAndre Baker, and then Murphy out of Washington is 4th. I'm not a big Murphy guy. He played a bunch of cover 4 at Washington. You don't really see him in man-to-man that often. And I watched him against Utah. He got 2 picks in that game. I was excited to watch it. Want to see if those weren't 2 of the most garbage picks I've ever seen. He's constantly in zone coverage. I don't see him in man very often. I wasn't impressed. And he's undersized and he's not fast. I'm good. I'm going to pass on him. So those are my top 4 corners, though, in that order. And when you go to the safety position, you know how I feel about Darnell Savage Jr., but my first safety in this draft is Jonathan Abram. Even though he can be reckless at times, I love the energy that he plays the game with. Love his athleticism. Then it's Darnell Savage Jr. Then I like Juan Thornhill out of Virginia. And then after that, I like the safety Deontay Thompson out of Alabama. So those are my top 4 safeties as of right now. And then after that, you start to get into the Delaware safety and some of the other guys. But those are my 4 safeties as of right now. Reese says, car is fine. Had to put my foot down to get home in time. I'm glad you were able to make it, man. Let's see. Cody Smith says, Redskins, in my opinion, got one of the best backfields in the league. AP, Chris, Army Knife, Thompson, and a healthy Geis. Let's hope it stays that way. Hey, appreciate the super chat. 7PRS. Really appreciate that super chat, bro, man. Any contributions I get from you guys, like I said, no matter how big or small. I appreciate them all. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. As we move on, Atlas says, Rosen is going to be position switched to O-line now to block for Murray. Next level GM thinking, he says. They're going to move him. I think they're going to move him tonight at some point. They're not taking just anything for him, but they wanted to secure the pick first. That I'm in Jets. Their pick is in. I told you that I didn't think they were going to be able to move out of the spot. They can sit there and talk all they want about how they want to move out. You got to find a trade partner, and it's going to take a ton of draft capital to move out of 3. And I know that their GM, Mike McCagnon, very, very smitten with Ed Oliver. But guess what? I don't anticipate them taking Ed Oliver over Quinnen Williams. That's the kind of move that can get you fired. So I fully expect them to stay in line with what most people have, and that's Quinnen Williams. Here comes the commissioner to the mic to announce the Jets' 3rd pick.
With the 3rd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Quinnen Williams.
There you go.
Nose tackle.
I'm 3 for 3, baby. I'm trying to get to double digits tonight. Quinnen Williams is the pick here. You heard Mike McCagnon, and I told you during my mock draft that all he was trying to do was conjure up some real excitement for the 3rd pick. Hey, I might take Ed Oliver. If you want him, you got to come up. Nobody's coming up to get Ed Oliver at 3, bruh. Ed Oliver's a special talent. He's not Quinnen Williams. Can you afford to pass on Quinnen Williams? That's the real question, because as I said with Arizona, you better get this right on my podcast. You better get this right, because if you don't, and Quinnen Williams is what we think he's going to be at the next level, that's the kind of thing you get fired for. So we're going to see what happens. But Quinnen Williams is the pick for the Jets. This dude is a beast. To me, number 1 player overall in this draft. And I'm not one that does a big board. I don't have a big board. I just have positional rankings. I don't really believe in a big board. It's hard to really put guys in a position where you say, hey, this guy's better than, and they don't play the same position. But when you look at Quinnen Williams, there's no doubt that he's the best player in this draft. I don't think it's even close. And so this guy is outstanding. This is the reason I was upset with the Redskins selecting Daron Payne last year, is because when you select a defensive tackle in the top 15 picks, he should look like this. He should look like Ed Oliver. He should be freaky. Daron Payne isn't freaky. He's just a really good football player. So this is the kind of guy you want right here. So in any event, let's get back up to your comments and catch up to where we left off. Sean Mack says, Murray rocking out the pink. I love it. It's no secret that I love pink and purple. I don't have a problem with either one of those colors. To each its own, okay? Daquan Smith says, looks like we jumping up for Haskins. Tell me you all in. I don't see it happening. I don't see us jumping up for Haskins. If Haskins is there at 15, I think we take him, but I don't see us jumping up. Now the Raiders are on the clock. They said they had a surprise. Surprise! They had a surprise for us. Let's see what the hell this surprise is. Or were they just pulling our chain? Were they yanking our chain? And are they going to just do something conventional, like take, Josh Allen here? Any player that they take here is a good player, because they need every player they can get their hands on. The Raiders have holes at just about every single position in this draft. So they can't really go wrong here at number 4. Sean Mack says, NFL defensive tackles have kernels of corn in the crap. He says, bigger than Kyler Murray. He's going to get pancake, bro. I like Kyler Murray, dude. I do. And I think he is. You heard Lincoln Riley come out and say, look, I never saw Kyler Murray. And again, some of this has to do with the fact that they played in the Big 12. But and you saw him get roughed up versus Alabama early on in that game. And I thought it rattled his cage a little bit. But then he responded. And I thought he played a lot better in the later portion of the second quarter as he settled down and into the second half when he battled back a little bit. But nonetheless, put this camera down just a bit. He said he never saw Kyler Murray in the training room, getting work. Why? Because he didn't take direct shots. He didn't get hit very often. So Kyle Little says, is the NFC West stepping up this year? I do. I believe that. I said that on the Kyler Murray video that I did when I said he was going to be the number 1 pick for the Arizona Cardinals. I said the NFC West is going to be dangerous. The Seahawks, they avoided the letdown last year that we all thought they were going to have. I can't speak for you guys. I thought they were going to take a massive step backwards. They made the playoffs last year out of nowhere, really. And so they're going to be back like cook crack in 2019. We know the Rams aren't going anywhere. And now I think you can throw the Arizona Cardinals and the 49ers. Don't sleep on the 49ers. They had a ton of injuries last year. You add Nick Bosa to the mix defensively along with D Ford and the moves they've made to also get the linebacker out of Tampa Bay. They've got a lot of defensive talent, the 49ers. And when you look at the way they've built that roster, and now you look at what they're going to try to do on offense, they're a scary team, are the San Francisco 49ers. So I think the NFC West, definitely one of those divisions you have to look out for in 2019, for sure. K. Michelle says, what's good, Louie? My first time at your draft party, how much of an impact will the air raid system be in today's NFL? I think that's the future of the NFL. Now, everyone isn't going to subscribe to the air raid kind of offense, but you're going to see a lot of teams with these quarterbacks, because remember, a lot of these quarterbacks are coming from similar style offenses, and so you're going to see a lot of teams adjust. Like you saw the Chiefs, a lot of shotgun last year, a lot of RPOs and read option for Patrick Mahomes. Like, teams are adjusting. It's not as rigid as it used to be. Well, you're going to have to come in and fit to my scheme. Teams are being better at saying, this guy's really talented and this is what he does well, so I'm going to conform to what he does well and not have it be the other way around. That's how it should be when you're drafting players at a high level. You should be willing to conform to what they do well and not the other way around. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more teams adopt, not necessarily the air raid where you're throwing it 55 times a game, but you're going to see teams spreading out the opposition, 4 receivers on the field to start the game, not a lot of usage of 2 backs in the backfield, 2 tight end sets. You're going to start to see a lot of teams spread you out and try to be more effective that way. And I think Kyler Murray in Arizona with Cliff Kingsbury is going to be an adaptation of that. And we'll see how that actually works out. We saw Chip Kelly try to come in the league and do something where he kind of had that up-tempo. It killed his defense. You have to execute if you're going to try to change the tempo at the next level. Let's see. BE says, I wanted Bosa, but Murray has the type of talent to make our offense deadly with DJ and Kirk. My coworkers are like, what are you doing? I wanted to hear from you. I'm glad you were able to make it and and chime in. I know you wanted Bosa. You wanted a tag team partner to go with the edge rusher you already have in Chandler Jones. But you did the right thing here. If you're going to hire Cliff Kingsbury, the right man for the job is Kyler Murray. That's the guy you need to make that offense work as effective and efficiently as you want it to work in Arizona. That's the guy you need pulling the trigger, and you made the right move. I understand why you wanted Nick Bosa, though. He's going to be a difference maker in this league for years to come if he can stay healthy. Kevin says, did you have a mock draft challenge this year? I didn't, because I put my mock draft out so late that I didn't do it. Next year, I'm going to have all my shit together. We're going to have a mock draft challenge. I've got a point system. I've got everything set up for it. It was supposed to happen this year. I just failed on the execution part of things. Next year, it's going to be lit. Trust me. Cody Smith says, now the draft really starts. And it did. Murray 1, Bosa 2. Williams went 3, as I suspected and surmised. Now the Raiders pick is in. I honestly don't know what the hell the Raiders are going to do. This is where my mock draft starts to go to hell in a handbasket right here. It wouldn't shock me if they went linebacker. They need so much help at linebacker. They've needed help at linebacker for years. It wouldn't surprise me if they went Josh Allen here. Pass rusher, they could definitely use some presence off the edge. What they're not going to do is go Ed Oliver here. They've got enough defensive tackles. They could go quarterback, although I don't know if that's really going to happen. I just threw that in there because they said they were going to surprise us. Again, there's so many different things they could do here that would make so much sense on so many levels because, again, the Raiders need help at just about every single position in the draft. Here's Roger Goodell to announce the Raiders pick.
With the 4th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Cleveland Farrell, defensive end.
Whoa. Nobody saw that coming. It was a surprise. Surprise! Cleveland Farrell, surprise! I like Cleveland Farrell. As a matter of fact, I've got him on my list of edge rushers at, let's see where he falls. He's not as high on my list, but he can get to the quarterback, man. I think he's a little underrated in this draft. As you look at the edge rushers in this draft, Bosa obviously number 1. I've got Farrell number 5. So I think very highly of Cleveland Farrell. And obviously Roger, this is the thing that frustrates me with Roger Goodell. You've got all this time to get these names right. I'm pretty sure the card that you're reading it off of has the pronunciation of the name, and yet he still goes up there and botches it. Cleveland Farrell, though, however, is one of these players that I look at, and I think he has a chance to be a big-time pass rusher in this league. He has some deficiencies, but when you watch him and you watch the production that he put up at Clemson, some of it is a product of his environment. He was on a very talented defensive line, but this guy is talented himself. All right, he was self-made at Clemson. He was a guy that could get after the quarterback. He's a guy that can stop the run. And in a draft where you've got some guys that aren't as adept at getting after the run game as they are the pass game, he can do both. And I like Cleveland Farrell a lot. There were some questions about him in the postseason workouts. He never ran a 40. He's been dealing with some injuries. I questioned how athletic he was because he didn't look good at the combine, but he was dealing with some injuries. But when you watch him, he turns the corner consistently, and he's a guy that can definitely change the game. There's some other guys that I think are better, as you can see, as pass rushers, natural pass rushers in this draft. But if you're looking for a balanced, well-rounded pass rusher, Cleveland Farrell is definitely that. And he's emotional, as you can see, as the first pick in this very, very important draft for the Oakland Raiders. They go Cleveland Farrell. As Raiders fans killed me for going with 3 offensive players, their first player off the board is a defensive player in edge rusher Cleveland Farrell. So let's get to your comments and see how surprised you got. Surprise! Raiders go with Cleveland Farrell, and the Bucks are now on the clock. Let's see how you guys feel. Cloud says, bro, this is about to get insane. I think Quentin Williams goes to the Jets, and he did. Atlas says, I did you worse on corners. He says, I don't have any corners in the first round, period, on my mock. Ha ha. So you did do me worse, because I did have one corner going in the first round, and that was the Steelers taking Murphy, who they supposedly like a lot. I don't see a lot of corners going in the first round. I don't. Zenny Dragon says, how long till Josh Rosen is traded? I think it happens tonight. You know, if you wait till tomorrow, it could happen. And if it doesn't happen by the second round, I don't see it happening this year. Because I think they at least won a second round pick for Josh Rosen. Atlas says, what is the absolute worst case scenario for the Skins pick? I need you to speak it into existence. I've already said this a number of times, so I'm not going to keep repeating it because you just said it. I don't want to speak this into existence. Cody Smith says, Todd Johnson played at Maryland. He's from my city. He got snubbed from the combine. At Maryland Pro Day, he ran a 4.25 40-yard dash as a running back. I hope day 2 or 3 someone drafts him. When you watch him on tape, especially the Ohio State game, he was nasty. All right. He's got some talent. He's so small, though. So I think that's one of the reasons he's been overlooked, and some injury history, too, to match. But Sean Mack says, it's a bit weird that my Browns haven't picked yet. You're so right. We're so used to the Browns picking in the top 3 of the draft every year. Same could be said for years with Jacksonville. You were so used to them being in the top 5. They're not that far out this year at 7, but nonetheless. David the Real Thomas says, Brian Burns probably goes in the top 10, and yeah, we have the most incompetent front office. You're probably right. He's moved up draft boards, but how far? I don't know if he's going to be in the top 10. I could see him going to the Giants, honestly, at 6 because of the heart condition to the Mississippi State edge rusher, Montez Sweat. And so I could see, because I think he was going to be the pick at 6. With the heart condition, might scare the Giants off. So we'll see what happens. JP says, the Jets are either taking Quinnen or Allen. They took Quinnen, Williams, Deshaun Drakeford says, where do you think Byron Murphy is going? I mocked him to the Steelers, so I'm sticking to that. Sean Mack says, yes, you and I are in the same boat with Byron Murphy. I'm not high on him either. Hashtag LabRoomFam. I just don't see it. Everybody else is trying to convince me that he's competitive and he's this and he's that. I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I don't see it. Tyler R says, what does your gut tell you the Raiders are going to do in the first round? That's what I'm most interested in. Well, I was wrong because I thought the Raiders were going to go offense with their first two selections. They went defense. And I don't know. Honestly, I think what's going to dictate what the Raiders do is what's on the board, obviously. I think they'd love to get their hands on Noah Fant with that 24th pick. If he's available, I think that's who they try to select at 24. And then it'll be interesting to see what they do at 27. Bucks still on the clock with 2 minutes remaining with their pick. Rodney Ray says, I was so happy thinking the Skins were going to draft a D end in the first, but when I heard that Dirty Dan might take over the first round, I slightly had a panic attack. Todd McShay is speaking. Let's see what he has to say.
But they reached for Cleveland Farrell there, and it provides potentially some opportunity here for Tampa Bay. Now, all along we've thought it's going to be one of the Devons, either Devon White from LSU, the linebacker, off-the-ball linebacker, or Devin Bush from Michigan. Both speedsters, today's type of NFL linebacker. But now Josh Allen is available. You got to remember, they transitioned from the 4-3 to the 3-4 where Todd Bowles coming in. They could use that edge rusher. But do you pass up on the leader and the playmaker or linebacker? This is a tough decision. I'm not sure that they expected to have all three of these players available when they came on the clock at number 5, Trey.
So McShay pretty much is talking about adding an extra player into the mix because the Buccaneers probably didn't expect Josh Allen. Remember, I had Josh Allen falling in my mock. People mocked me for having Allen fall, and I really thought he was going to fall to 8 to the Lions. He wasn't going to get it past 8. But then the Lions traded out in my mock, so then he ended up falling to 15 to the Lions. No, not 15, 14 to the Lions. He's not going to fall that far, I don't think. But I do think he could slip a little bit because I think the Buccaneers are going to go ahead and take one of the inside linebackers. I really do. But how can you pass on pass rush? That's the most important thing in this league. You can sit here and tell me about inside linebackers all you want, but here's the pick, and it's going to be announced, as my man Reese said, by a Make-A-Wish Foundation member. So let's see what the Bucks do at 5.
I'm joined by Casey Reynolds, a Make-A-Wish kid and a huge Buccaneers fan. Casey's been fighting cancer, and tonight his wish is to be granted to announce the opportunity to be granted to the Buccaneers.
Roger is such an ass clown.
We hope this wish gives Casey the physical and emotional strength to face any challenges that come his way. Okay, Casey, now's the time.
All right, Casey, knock it out the park, bruh.
With the 5th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Devon White.
There it is, Devon White. Devon White, linebacker, LSU. I told you that I thought it would be one of the Devons. So I'm 4 out of 5 with my first 5 picks in this draft. It's staying status quo. I thought it would. I would have taken Devin Bush, but I had a feeling that Devon White was going to go first. And it makes sense. That's the guy that everyone's been touting all along. When I watch the tape, I'm more impressed with Devin Bush than I am Devon White. I put out my 2 videos today to give you evidence and proof of what I was seeing. But he's a good football player. Don't get me wrong. They're not getting a bum here, all right? They're not getting a bust here either. They're just not getting, to me, the better of the 2 Devons. That's the only thing that I think. But as I said, now Josh Allen falls to 6. He doesn't fit in the Giants' defense. The Giants are a 4-3 defense. Again, if you're an edge rusher, you can fit in any defense. He can stand up in a 2-point stance and rush. He doesn't have to put his hand in the dirt and rush to be an effective rusher in a 4-3 defense. Teams are in nickel more so than they are in their base packages anyway. The Giants could say, we didn't expect Josh Allen to be here and he's going to be our pick. They want an edge rusher, do the Giants. Here could be a guy right in their wheelhouse that they could take here at 6. Or they could just go ahead and take Daniel Jones and get that shit over with and get his ass out of the way, which is what I would prefer them to do. We'll see what the Giants do here at number 6. Hunter Ortiz says, do you think the Texans are trading up or trading Jadeveon Clowney? They're not going to trade Jadeveon Clowney. That's not happening. And I can't see them trading up in the draft. No one wants to keep sitting out in the first round. Last year, you were in timeout because you had to trade up for your future franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson. You had to sit out in timeout last year. Matter of fact, I don't think you got out of timeout until the third round last year. No one's trying to do that again, so I don't see you trading up. But I think when you select, you're taking an offensive lineman. I do feel that way. After the beating that Deshaun Watson took last year, I think you're going to take an offensive lineman. SOL's Nation says, is it more likely that our Skins trade for Rosen now? I don't think it's any more likely than it was going into the draft yet. We'll see what happens, but I don't think anything has changed necessarily with that whole dynamic. I don't see that changing at all right now. As Devon White comes off the board, again, my second-rated linebacker in this draft behind Devin Bush. Sean Mack says, exactly like we thought. I'm 3 for 3 as well. Cloud says, I think a lot of players are about to be moved before the weekend is over. You can see a lot of trades. You want to make sure you get the player to replace the guy you're trading. It's just like a job in life. Don't quit your old job until you get your new job. All right? So with the NFL, you want to make sure you get the player that's going to be replacing the guy you're trying to move. For an example, Nelson Aguilar. You don't trade Nelson Aguilar if you're the Philadelphia Eagles until you get his replacement as a wide receiver. You get the guy you want, and then Nelson Aguilar becomes expendable. So you're going to see a lot of players be moved here, I believe, over the next couple of weeks. After the draft is done and you get your guy, you could see it happening this weekend. You know, the Eagles, let's say the Eagles in day 2 get their receiver in the second round. You could easily see a trade for Nelson Aguilar in day 3 of the draft. So, these are the types of things that are going to take place. Once teams get their guy, then you can move on from a guy that you don't want on your roster any longer. Craig Smith says, Jets got my heart tonight. Didn't want to see Quinnen harassing Philly Rivs twice a year. He said, hashtag may the good Lord bless him. I think he wasn't going to get drafted by the Raiders anyway. So you didn't have to worry about that. I don't think he was going to be drafted by the Raiders because they've done so much work on the interior of their defensive line. Remember, they got Maurice Hurst in like the 5th or 6th round last year. They got Jelly Ellis. They re-signed Jonathan Hankins. They got the kid Hall, PJ Hall out of Sam Houston State last year. They're loaded at defensive tackle. I didn't expect them to go defensive tackle in the draft anyhow. Zenny Dragon says Raiders picking punter at 4. Cody Smith says Raiders taking Josh Allen. John about to take Allen or Locke. Sean Mack says Murray is good, but man, he's small. These are all valid points. I'm trying to catch up. Sean Mack says air raid is a fad. Patriots prove once again that running game and defense wins championships. Hey, look, man, anything is possible. Giants pick is in. BE says I'm on the drive-through at McDonald's working while streaming live. Here's the pick for the Giants.
Draft. The New York Giants select Daniel Jones, quarterback.
Yes! Yes! The Giants have taken Daniel Jones' ass off the board. Eli Manning Jr. is now a New York Giant. Hallelujah. Praise the man upstairs. So my worst fears have been put to rest. Now the next biggest fear is that the Redskins do something stupid like draft DK Metcalf. But being that Daniel Jones is off the board, that was my biggest fear in the draft. Nothing topped the Redskins drafting Daniel Jones. I wanted no parts of him. And even if he turns out to be what everybody... Gil Brandt, who I respect, he is the godfather of the NFL. He's been around for as long as the league. He's probably 150. The league's celebrating their 100th anniversary. And he's been around for every year of the 100-year anniversary of the NFL. He said recently, as recent as 4 days ago, that Daniel Jones is Peyton Manning. Not Eli Manning. Peyton Manning. I said, Gil, man, I love you, bro. You're my guy. You're the godfather of the league. You need to go sit down somewhere. You're done. Daniel Jones is arguably the greatest quarterback in NFL history, you're done. You're done. All right? Go sit down. Go sit down. Anyway, Reese says, do you like Jalen Ferguson? I put out a video for Jalen Ferguson, so check that out. We'll get to my edge rusher rankings again a little bit later, but as you can see, another quarterback off the board. And let's take a look at the comp that I have for Daniel Jones. And this is a guy here that you already know how I feel. This is no secret that I think that Daniel Jones reminds me a lot of Ryan Tannehill. If you watch the video, then you already know this. He, to me, wears the same number, plays the same, has athletic ability. I think people underrate this guy's athleticism. I think he can move, and he ran it a ton at Duke. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, similar to Tannehill, but he can get it there. He throws with anticipation. That's the thing that everyone loves with this guy. He's being coached by a quarterback guru in David Cutcliffe. And so that's the hope, is that Cutcliffe is a quarterback whisperer and that he can have the same success with Daniel Jones that he's had with Eli Manning and Peyton Manning throughout his career. So that's the hope, if you're a Giants fan, that this guy morphs into the next coming of Eli Manning. If he does, you might have maybe another Super Bowl or two in your future. If he's Ryan Tannehill, you'll be back doing this again 4 or 5 years down the road. So we'll see what happens and what he ended up turning into. But nonetheless, Daniel Jones, a New York Giant, and God damn it, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm excited. So Murray is gone. So is Daniel Jones. And that's what the quarterback list looks like as of now. My second, third quarterbacks are still remaining on the board in Drew Lock and Dwayne Haskins. And I'd love to see Drew Lock be on the board when the Redskins selected 15 and see what they do. I'd love Haskins to be gone and see if the Redskins would pull the trigger on Drew Lock. That's the guy that I want. More so than edge rusher, I want Drew Lock. If I can't get Drew Lock, then I want Brian Burns. That's my scenario of the night. And so we'll see what happens. But that's nor here nor there. As we get back to the comment section, Jonathan Delmos, I appreciate the super chat. He says, love your content, man. My Giants are done, he says, after drafting Daniel Jones. You're not done. You have a pick at 17. Let's see what you decide to do. I think that pick is going to be an edge rusher. I can almost guarantee that that's going to be an edge rusher at number 17. Nonetheless, Jonathan Delmos doesn't love the pick. I do love the pick for the New York Football Giants. Absolutely love it. Anyhow, let's see where we are now. Now, I'm going to read some of these comments at the bottom and then I'll go back. Sean Mack says, David Cutcliffe is not a quarterback guru. All he had was the Mannings. Everyone else has busted. Hey, you say that, but he's always going to have Peyton Manning and Eli under his belt. And that's 2 future Hall of Fame players. That speaks volumes, man. But you're right. He's better than Jeff Tedford. Remember, he was the quarterback guru at Cal, the guy that produced Kyle Bowler, among others. Yeah, so there's that. Slip Ammo says, Paul Brown is the godfather of the NFL. Crazy K says, so what does this mean for Eli Manning? What it means is Eli Manning is going to play this year. And remember, Daniel Jones said he would love nothing more than to sit behind Eli Manning for a year. So he wants to sit and wait. The Jags pick is in. Duval, they're coming up. I expect this to be Jonah Williams. But they didn't expect, I did, I don't think they did. They didn't expect Josh Allen to be here. Could they select an edge rusher? I think you have to protect your investment in Nicholas Foles. Big Dick Nick needs protection, and I think you get it here in Jonah Williams.
With the 7th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Allen.
No, there it is. Josh Allen's slide stops here. They didn't expect him to be here this long. They add to the abundance of riches that they have on the defensive side of football. The rich get richer on defense as the Jacksonville Jaguars get one of the premier pass rushers in this draft, an edge rusher, Josh Allen, out of Kentucky. Guy led the nation in sacks last year with 17.5. He was outstanding. And he's a guy that he's got some rush diversity. And he's got a little juice off the edge, man. This is a really good pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I thought they would err on the side of caution and take an offensive lineman. They went with the best player available. This is truly a best player available pick. Had they selected Jonah Williams, then it wouldn't have been best player available. It would have been drafting for a need. When you're in the top 10 of the draft, I've always said this, really in the first round of the draft, you should be drafting best player available. The Jaguars just stuck to their board and drafted the best player available in Josh Allen. As you take a look at my list of edge rushers in the 2019 NFL draft, and it looks as such. And you see Bosa at 1, Allen at 2. You can't go wrong with any of the guys. So picks 1, 2, and 4 are already off the board in this draft, as Bosa went to the 49ers, second overall. My top 9, number 1, 2, and 5 are already off the board, as Nick Bosa has been selected by the San Francisco 49ers. Josh Allen just now selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars at 7, and Clelin Ferrell went off the board at 4 in a surprise move to the Oakland Raiders. And so edge rushers, we knew they were going to go quick. That's why I think you could easily see 7, possibly upwards of 8 guys go in the first round, because everyone's going to want to try and go get theirs before all of these edge rushers are gone. And you're going to see a run on these guys in the first round. I think within the next 10 picks, you could easily see Burns, Gary, and potentially Sweat, if his heart checks out for one of these teams, come off the board in the next 10 picks. It would not shock me one bit. So that's the way the edge rusher board is set up right now and how it's been affected. Let's get to some more comments. Reed says, I bet the Giants could have gotten him at 17. I really think they could have, but when you're talking about a quarterback, if you really love this guy, you don't wait. You don't know what the Redskins were thinking. You know what I mean? Like the Redskins, they really like Josh Allen a lot. And I don't think you wait. If that's your guy, you go. You know what I always say? You know my mantra, you know my motto. Get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy. No one can tell you reached. Just like the Raiders, people are going to try to tell them they reached. If that's their guy, you get him at 4. Don't wait. Because he wasn't going to be there at 24. I can assure you of that. Don't wait. Get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy. They did that. Sean Mack says, Giants equal the new Cleveland Browns. We'll see. Nick Riley says, I know damn well my man Lou happy as hell about to get up start crip walking. Bro, I was so excited when he came off the board. The Lions pick is in. And I'm trying to think as to who this pick would be. I've got an inkling that this is probably going to be one of 2 players, 3 players. TJ Hawkinson is in that mix as well. I feel like with them going out and getting Jesse James in the offseason, you don't really need to draft the tight end right here. So I'll take him off the board. This could be Jonah Williams. They could definitely use some help up front. But I really think that this is a spot where you could see Ed Oliver come off the board right here. It wouldn't shock me if this is Ed Oliver. It wouldn't shock me if this was TJ Hawkinson. Those are my 2 selections for the Giants here at 8. Cloud says, bruh, I'm crying. I love Dave Gettleman. I told you, never trust Dave, Gettle, man. You trust Dave Gettleman and you're going to be in trouble. Atlas says, alternate universe Giants, Louie. What are you doing? What are you doing? Love it. I know what he's doing. No, I don't. No, I don't. John Perez says, thank you, God. Giants took Daniel Jones. He said, Daniel Jones is gone. Yes, God. Sean Mack says, remember, I have Haskins sliding all the way to Cincinnati at 11. And I did 2 mocks. My second mock I didn't release. But my second mock was without trades. And in my second mock without trades, I had the Bengals getting Dwayne Haskins as well at number 11. So I'm with you there. Cody Smith says, let's see what the Smurfs are going to do. And they selected Josh Daniel Jones. Reese says White and Bush play are comparable, but Devon White's leadership makes him a better prospect. If you put that much stock into leadership, knock yourself out. As long as the other guy isn't a troublemaker, I'll take him. Devin Bush, for me, was the superior player between the two. Just Andre says, Giants, please pick Daniel Jones. And that they did. Zenny Dragon says, how good will the day 2 tight ends be for teams willing to wait? Excellent value. If you're looking for a pass catcher, you're going to have an abundance of riches available to you in day 2. If you're looking for a do-it-all tight end, you're probably going to have to draft him. Irv Smith Jr. and T.J. Hawkinson, super intelligent T.J. Hawkinson. Here's the Lions pick.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select T.J. Hawkinson.
Well, there's T.J. Hawkinson. I told you one of the 2 picks for the Lions here would be Hawkinson or Ed Oliver. It turned out to be T.J. Hawkinson. Makes a lot of sense. They missed the production that they got out of Eazy-E last season. And I know Eazy-E was very disappointing for where they drafted him 5 years ago in the first round, 5-6 years ago. But he still was a difference maker at the tight end position. And they missed that production at the tight end position. They're going to get a guy that not only can catch it, but is the best two-way tight end that we've seen in the draft in years. And I know last year or 2 years ago, O.J. Howard was in the first round and went to the Bucks. T.J. Hawkinson's better than O.J. Howard as a blocker. So, and if you ask me, he's a little bit more fluid of an athlete, even though O.J. Howard is way faster. Hawkinson, to me, I told you, O.J. Howard seems a little mechanical to me. Hawkinson is fluid, man. So, there's something here with him. I love George Kittle, too. Don't let me sleep on George Kittle. I tried to sell anybody that would listen on George Kittle and what he was going to be for the 49ers, and he had a coming out party last year. But Hawkinson is the truth as he comes off the board at number 8 to the Detroit Lions. And so, Zenny Dragon, if you're looking for a day 2 tight end, matter of fact, let's get to the tight ends. And I think that's a perfect segue with Hawkinson being selected. Let's get to the tight end position and see what my big board looks like at the tight end position. So this is what the tight end position looks like for me. Obviously, if you're talking T.J. Hawkinson, here's his comp. I told you it's Chris Cooley. Chris Cooley! Which is what I used to say every time Chris Cooley would make a big catch for the Redskins. One of my favorite Redskins, Captain Chaos, as they would call him. I never called him that. I used to just call him Chris Cooley. But Hawkinson looks just like Cooley, plays just like Cooley. He can block. He can catch it. I think he could still develop more as a route runner, but everything you're looking for in an NFL tight end, you get in T.J. Hawkinson. This guy's going to blow. And with Matthew Stafford as his quarterback, he's going to get the football, and he's going to make plays, man. T.J. Hawkinson's going to be a beast at the next level. So, Hawkinson is off the board. And this is what my tight end room looks like here. Noah Fant is the next best guy. Irv Smith Jr. to me is the next best blocking tight end with the combination of pass catching ability. I also love Foster Moreau if you're looking for a do-it-all tight end. He's not getting the respect he deserves. A sleeper guy is Kahale Waring out of San Diego State. He's rising up draft boards. I think he'll be a day 2 pick for some team as well at the tight end position. He's still raw, but man, is he big and athletically gifted is Kahale Waring. And so those are all your guys. Alize Mack out of Notre Dame, not that good of a blocking prospect, but he can catch it just like Josh Oliver can. And so a lot of guys at the tight end position. It's loaded at the tight end position. You do not have to reach for tight end if you do not want to. There are plenty of guys that you can get in this draft. So back to live action. And let's see. Let's get to some more live comments. Here we are. Cody Smith says, Haskins had more TDs and yards in one season than Jones had as a 3-year starter. I hate to compare the two because I hated the offense that Dwayne Haskins played in. There aren't 2 more offenses that I hate than the Herb offense at Ohio State, which I'm really glad to see go. We'll see what their new head coach comes in and employs or implements. But I hate that offense, and I hate the offense at Auburn under Gus Malzahn. Both of those offenses are trash. All right. Really hard to evaluate the prospects coming out of those offenses because it's a gimmicky offense where you're just looking to win with athleticism and create mismatches. And it works at the collegiate level, but I can't stand it. So I don't put too much stock into Haskins throwing 50 touchdowns over 8 interceptions. But nonetheless, that did happen. Bills pick is in. I firmly believe this is Ed Oliver at number 9 to the Buffalo Bills. We'll see. In my mock draft with no trades, the Bills got Oliver at 9, and that's where I see the Bills going right now. Let's see. Sean Mack says, right now, he said, I'm laughing my ass off. Forgot about Jeff Tedford. Oh, my God, I'm dying. Yeah. Remember, he was the OG quarterback whisperer back in the day. His stinking ass. Reese says, no trades yet. Odd. It's odd, but it's not odd. I really thought this was a draft that could have trades as we get towards the middle of the draft. But I didn't think there's so much talent early in this draft. And there's so much talent throughout that teams don't want to give up draft picks to move up. You much rather stand pat and see what happens. The Bills pick is in. Commish coming to the podium. Let's see who the Bills draft. I think they're going to take Ed Oliver.
With the 9th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Ed Oliver.
There it is. Ed Oliver. Defensive tackle out of Houston. This makes so much sense. Kyle Williams was on his way out in Buffalo. Last year was his last season. There was a transition. They got a guy that looked a splitting image of Kyle Williams last year in the draft in the Stanford defensive tackle. But they need a horse up there. They need a dominant presence. And, yeah, they re-signed the ex-Miami Dolphins second-round pick to a one-year deal. And he'll provide depth for them up front. But Ed Oliver is a difference maker. And when the Bills made it to the postseason 2 years ago, it was off the strength of their defense. And last year, they weren't as dominant defensively. Ed Oliver is going to help them get back to what they were able to do 2 years ago when they were a dominant defense under first-year head coach Sean McDermott. This guy's going to come in, be unblockable, plays with the type of zest and energy for the game that you wish every player would. I said this on my podcast, Louie T Network podcast, available on Stitcher, Google Music Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, and of course the website louietnetwork.net. He plays with the kind of energy that is unmatched in this draft. This guy, you can't tell if it's snap 1 or snap 11 of a drive. You can't tell if it's the 87th snap of the game or the 17th snap of the game. He looks the same throughout the game. I don't put him in the Aaron Donald category yet because he's not fully developed as a pass rusher. His quickness is Aaron Donald-like, but he doesn't use his hands well. I know they're showing a clip of him using his hands. Right now, he's a power rusher. He's a guy that wins with just pure, unadulterated aggression. Comes off the snap like a bat out of hell, bull rushes you, can beat you with quickness off the snap. When he learns how to use his hands, learns how to use leverage a little bit better, learns how to use a spin move and all the things that Aaron Donald already has. As I've mentioned on the podcast, Aaron Donald came into the league with 29.5 sacks out of Pitt, coming off of 2 consecutive double-digit sack seasons out of Pitt. The man was ready to go out of the packaging. No assembly necessary. You've got some assembling to do with Ed Oliver. But one thing's for sure, the talent, the explosiveness, the dynamic ability is unquestioned. This guy's going to come in and help change the game for the Buffalo Bills. The Denver Broncos are now on the board, and this is where Devin Bush comes off the board, if you ask me. Right here, right now, Devin Bush, number 10 overall. They need help at linebacker. They need an infusion of athleticism on that side of the football. this is where I think you see Devin Bush come off. In my mock draft with no trades, Devin Bush came off the board here at number 10. Hell, my mock draft with no trades, I think I would have been at this point 7 out of 9. The only two I wouldn't have gotten right were the Giants and the Raiders at this point. I think I would have gotten every other pick correct thus far. So I really think that Devin Bush is coming off the board here at number 10. Let's get to your comments, though. So Sean Mack says that Jacksonville linebacker room is so stacked. It's ridiculous. The rich just continue to get richer. Nick Riley says, fantastic pick by the Jags. Couldn't pass on him there. That's just tremendous value in getting Josh Allen at 7. Just tremendous value. Christian McCoy says, thanks for giving me something to listen to while at work. Please, Bush to Cincy. I don't think Bush is going to make it to Cincinnati because I think Denver's going to take him off the board now. If he gets past Denver here at 10, and I'll give you a wild card outside pick here for Denver at 10. An outside pick for Denver. 2 outside picks I'll give you for Denver at 10. Their first pick, though, I think is coming off the board is Devin Bush. But an outside selection would be Hollywood Brown at receiver or Jonah Williams as a guard for them. They have a need at guard. It wouldn't shock me if they look to address that here at 10. Jazzy E says, I'm a Texans fan, so Josh Allen, torn labrum, good with me. Zenny Dragon says, offensive line for the Packers at 12, need to protect the franchise. I think that's going to be the case. I think that you're going to see a situation where I mocked them to get Andre Dillard, and to me, he's the most athletically gifted tackle in this draft, and he'll be there for you at 12. No TJ Hawkinson, so I think the logical move for the Packers at this point would then be to get an offensive lineman, and I think that's what they're going to do. John Perez says, I think Lions go with wide receiver. DK Metcalf comes off the board. Too early for a receiver. I don't think you see a receiver come off the board either here in a surprise move by the Denver Broncos, or I think the real first place you see Broncos trade pick. We got a trade. Steelers come up. The Steelers come up to 10. The Steelers, remember, all day we talked about this in the pregame leading up to the draft, that the Steelers were potentially interested in coming up in the draft. They acquire the pick. I'd love to know what the compensation is. And so we officially have a trade. We've got movement, folks. We got movement. We got movement, folks. So the Steelers come up to 10, and I think this is for Devin Bush. I think they knew they had to get in front of Cincinnati. This is for Devin Bush. I have no doubts in my mind. They're coming up because they've never fully recovered. In my mind, the Steelers have never fully recovered from one of my favorite linebackers in Ryan Shazier. They've never recovered from Shazier's injury. Okay? So they're lacking speed inside. And to me, the crux of their defense is built off of speed at the linebacker position. They lack it currently. They couldn't go through another year of A.J. Fort and Vince Williams and all of these other guys that they've been parading around as inside linebackers. Enough's enough. I think they realize that in order for them to get back to where they want to be as a defense, they've got to improve team speed, especially at the linebacker position. And if they didn't come up and get Bush at 10, he was going to go off the board at 11 to the Cincinnati Bengals. They keep him out of the division. This is a double whammy here, because not only are they keeping him away from Cincinnati, they're going to get themselves a hell of a football player and what I think is the best linebacker in the draft. Here comes the commissioner up to the podium to turn it over to Mean Joe Green to announce the Steelers coming up to 10 to select.
Please welcome back to the stage 1979 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, Hall of Famer and Steeler legend, Joe Green.
With the 10th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, Pittsburgh Steelers select
Devin Bush. Yeah, I knew it. You knew what was coming. The minute they came up, you knew what it was for, and you knew why they did it. There's nothing better in the draft than some division on division family crime. It's nothing better. This was so dirty and nasty and filthy by the Pittsburgh Steelers to come up in front of Cincinnati, and they got him. They got the Bengals. Did you just hear a Bengals fan crying, pleading, begging, screaming, I want Devin Bush. I want that. And the Steelers said, stop. He's ours. We saw it last year with the Philadelphia Eagles coming in front of Dallas to draft Dallas Goedert. Nothing better than some family business, family crime, division on division member crime. It's nothing like it. This was so dirty, dick dastardly by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like Muggsy right now. If I was a Steelers fan, I'd be laughing like Muggsy right now. That was so dirty, dick dastardly by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They needed it though. Man, did they need this in the worst way. And I already told you how I feel about Devin Bush. He's the number one linebacker in this draft. They, not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Steelers just got themselves the best linebacker in the 2019 NFL draft. So that's a win for the Steelers. I'd love to see the compensation. Still don't know exactly what they had to give up to move up. I'm assuming that either they had to come up off of a 2020 first round pick, or they had to come up off their second round pick this year. It'll be interesting to see. I'm gonna read y'all. I'm gonna read you guys the draft chart, and I'm going to tell you what the compensation for a move like that is. So the draft value chart says that coming up from 20 to 10 is a difference in 450 points. So in essence, the Steelers own it's a difference of 450 points. Their second round pick is worth 380 points. So I could see them giving up a combination of their second round pick and their fourth round pick, which is worth 50. That should probably do it there. So if I had to guess, compensation for this move would be the second and fourth round pick. You could either go second and fourth rounder this year, or second this year, fourth rounder next year, or second next year, fourth rounder this year. That's the combination I see. Maybe even second rounder this year, third rounder next year. I could see that being a combination of the two as well. But that's what I think they just gave up to get Devin Bush. What a move here, man, by the Steelers to get Devin Bush. That's a big time get for them, as they get what I perceive to be the best linebacker in this draft. All right, let's get to some more comments. Let's see. Sean Mack says, the NFL is not the AAC, bro. Oliver is a basket of fruit and nuts. He will get swallowed by NFL offensive linemen. You sleeping on what athleticism and explosiveness can do at the next level. Reese says, Jeff Tedford was almost an offensive coordinator with his PE teacher looking ass. Hashtag lovey logic. John Niner says, boom, Boza and Daniel Jones with the 6th pick. Really? What in the blue hell is Michael Irvin doing on stage? He's moving around like he has a stick in his ass. I'm not watching NFL Network, so I don't know exactly what he's doing. Sean Mack says, why are you hating on my Buckeyes, hating on winners, bro? So sad, he says. I'm not hating on winners. What you do is winning. It's what you do best, but I don't like how you go about it. That's all. But, hey, look, if it works, go ahead and do it. So I'll give you a quick analysis on Cincinnati, who now sits here at 11. I think this is where Haskins comes off the board. And, I know some fans might not be excited about that, but I think this is where the pick is in. I think Haskins played at Ohio State. I don't think they got a new coach. And when you get a new coach in there, he wants his guy. Here comes the commissioner to the podium to announce the pick. I think this is Haskins right here.
With the 11th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jonah Williams.
Okay.
Tackle.
Jonah Williams, tackle out of Alabama, is the pick here. And so they're looking to stick with Andy Dalton and protect and solidify the offensive line. I don't have a problem with that at all. It seems like people, not me, people have been trying to run Andy Dalton out of Cincinnati for years, and I don't understand why. Andy's not the problem. Andy's not necessarily the solution, but Andy's not the problem. You can do much worse in this league than Andy Dalton at quarterback. When they've been at their best, they've been able to protect Andy Dalton and run the football. When they have been at their worst, Andy Dalton's been under siege. They can't stay healthy, and you see seasons like last year. Keep in mind, Cincinnati started the year off, I believe, 4-2 last year before the bottom fell out of their season. All right, it's not like they just jumped out of the gate last year as super trash. They had injuries that affected them, and their season went to hell in a handbasket. But make this be known: if they can protect Andy Dalton, remember, all I'll say, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna move on. I'm like a stinking ass nasty fart. I'm gonna drop this right here, and I'm gonna just walk away. There's always 2015 with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was about to be the MVP of the league. I'm walking away right now. Reese says, Lou, it's you convincing me that someone's a good pick. This is weird. 89 Anno Nimbus says, when are we going to see a wide receiver come off the board? I told you, I don't expect the run on receivers to start until the mid to early 20s. Again, the first time I think you could see a receiver come off the board is the Redskins at 15. I don't anticipate the Redskins taking a receiver at 15. But that's the first time you could see a receiver come off the board. If the Redskins don't take a receiver at 15, I don't think you see a receiver come off the board then until 19 at Tennessee. If the Titans decide to go edge rusher, which I think is a more dire need than receiver is, then you could not see a receiver come off the board until 21 at Seattle. A receiver is definitely coming off the board at 22 to Baltimore, and then that's when you'll start to see it heat up. Once that first receiver comes off the board, then you're going to see teams saying, all right, let's go get ours. The packaging and the seal has been opened or ripped off of the receiver position. Let's go get ours. So that's what you'll see. And let's get to my offensive line ratings as Jonah Williams comes off the board. And this is what my offensive lineman rankings look like. And Jonah Williams was my top offensive lineman in this draft. And for me, I don't do it by tackle, guard, center. I just put them all in one group, because, people try to sell you on the fact that, oh, you shouldn't draft a guard this early or a center. The Colts drafted Ryan Kelly 2 years ago at 17, I believe. Last year, they drafted Quentin Nelson at 6, I believe. What the hell are we having a discussion about this for again? Like, I don't really give a shit what position he plays. If he's elite, get him. If you believe he's a game changer, draft him. At 4, at 14, at 24, I don't really care. Get him. So I don't lump these guys into positions. They just all go into one basket. Offensive line. And Jonah Williams was my best offensive lineman. Dalton Reisner, with his athleticism, but more so importantly, his versatility to be able to play 3 positions and all play them effectively. I love and his toughness, his grit. I love Dalton Reisner. He's my second best offensive lineman in this draft, followed by Garrett Bradbury. I think he's a plug-and-play center. You plug him into the pivot position of your offensive line and just let him go. And he'll be in there for the next decade plus, holding it down for you. Love Garrett Bradbury and his athleticism. Cody Ford is a road grader and a physical presence. He's nasty. He's mean. I like Cody Ford. I think he is a guy that's probably going to kick inside the guard at the next level. I like him as my 4th rated offensive lineman. And then you get to the finesse of Andre Dillard and what he brings as a pass protector in this draft. He's athletically gifted at the tackle position. And then Jawan Taylor, he's a little raw to me. He's a right tackle. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a lot of another Jawan James, who was just signed as a free agent by the Denver Broncos. He's a little stiff, but he gets the job done. He's long. He reminds me of Jawan Taylor, James. He also reminds me a lot of Morgan Moses, the Redskins right tackle. Doesn't move as well. He lumbers a bit, but he's long as you can possibly be. Pause. And he finds a way to win, even when it looks like he's about to lose. So the Packers pick is in at 12. I think the Packers, as Jonah Williams comes off the board, and I think the Packers are in a position where I think they're going to take one of these linemen that I have on the board, and I think they're going to take the 5th lineman that I have on my offensive lineman board in Andre Dillard. I think he's the pick here. He makes the most sense. He allows you to have a left tackle for years to come protecting Aaron Rodgers, and that's been a problem for the Green Bay Packers. And so that's the guy that I see coming off the board for the Packers at number 12 as their pick is in. Let's see, as I go back up the list and try to get to some more of your comments. See where I am. So Cody Smith says, we have a trade. We had that trade with Pittsburgh coming up and getting Devin Bush. And Nick Riley says, love the way the draft is falling. Jonah gonna mess around and fall to my Vikings. Well, that went to hell in a handbasket. The Packers pick is in. Let's see who they select.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Rashawn Gary.
Rashawn Gary is the pick for the Packers. And I almost don't know what to make of this, being that, and again, this is what this says to me, is that they went best player available in their mind. They thought Rashawn Gary was the best player available. And it's just surprising because I want to see where they're going to play him first before I start making comments. But they went out in free agency and got 2 edge rushers in Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. So for them to go and not only double down, they tripled down on edge rusher. You can never have enough pass rushers. Let me say that before I say anything else. You can never have enough guys get into the Giants of the mid-2000s showed you that. You can never have enough pass rushers. All right? In a league where you have to affect the quarterback, you can never have too many pass rushers. That being said, I guess this is good value. This was a guy that has been lauded as a potential top 10 pick. I don't love Devin Bush. As a matter of fact, let's get to my ranking of edge rushers in this draft. You know how I feel about, as you can see, Rashawn Gary's 7th on my list of edge rushers. So I don't love him, but he's got talent. As you saw when I broke him down and showed you some film, he's got some talent, man. Like, let's not make it seem like this guy can't play. He's just unrefined as a pass rusher right now. To me, he's a power rusher. And I thought the Packers went out and got 2 power rushers in free agency. I didn't feel like they needed to add another power rusher. But this was great value in their mind. And I'm happy because this is another guy I didn't want my Redskins to draft. And I didn't even want him available for the Redskins to select. So this is another guy off the board. This Dolphins pick, this is impossible to figure out because are they really tanking for Tua? No team really tanks, but them starting Ryan Fitzpatrick says to me that they're willing to lose 10 games this year and won't have a problem doing it. Do you draft a tackle here to protect Fitzpatrick or whoever you are going to get in the future at the quarterback position? Do you draft your quarterback of the future here? You got Locke and Haskins still on the board. I never thought in my wildest dreams we'd get to 15 and both Locke and Haskins would be available. But that just goes to show you how little people think of both of those quarterbacks, 1 and 2, just how good the defensive talent is in this draft that teams aren't reaching for quarterbacks. And let me say this too. Remember, we came into this draft saying that this is the first draft in about the last decade where there weren't 7 or 8 teams needing a quarterback desperately. There are only 4 teams or so that are really in a desperate state at the quarterback position. I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks, the teams that we gave quarterbacks to, the Giants, the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Redskins, the Giants and the Bengals both have starters entrenched. Like, they're drafting for the future. The Chargers, they would be drafting for the future at the quarterback position. Same would be said for the Patriots or any other team that you're thinking about with an entrenched starter. They're drafting for the future. The only teams drafting for I need a starter right now would be the Redskins and the Dolphins. And both of those teams have veterans in place to start if the season started tomorrow. So what you're seeing is a number of teams saying, hey, I'm good at quarterback. And these guys don't move the needle for me. I'm good. So I'm going to pass on what is perceived to be lesser talent. And I'm going for the home run talent, which is defense in this draft. And that's what you're seeing. And let's keep going down the list of comments as you see what the Packers did. This was a surprise to me. I didn't see the Packers going edge rusher. I think this is one of those situations where you say best player available. They took what they perceived to be the best player available in the draft. Nick said he thought Jonah was going to fall in his lap. The Packers the Bengals put that to rest as they took Jonah Williams. Reese says Devin Bush looks just like a Pittsburgh Steeler. I don't even know what that means, but okay. Sean Mack says, I really hate Bush. He played for Shittigan and now Schittsburg, but he's a hell of a football player. That's for damn sure. John Niner says, great move for the Steelers to grab Bush, for sure. John Perez says, Haskins is getting closer to the Skins. If the Dolphins don't take him, he'll be there for the Redskins at 15. He and Locke, which is interesting because I'm a Locke guy, and I haven't heard one word out of Redskins Park about Locke. The only person that I've heard say they like Drew Locke is Jay Gruden. Everybody else seems to have liked Dwayne Haskins, and I think he'll be the pick at 15. Remember, in my mock draft, I had the Redskins drafting Dwayne Haskins. So I just had him trading up to do it. But he may fall into their lap. And that's why I said, put your damn seatbelt on and don't get out of the seat because you don't know what's going to happen. Look, he may fall to them at 15. Craig Smith says, Bush about to hit that typewriter. Hammer, don't hurt him. Stop. Hammer time. That looks like a hell of a 30 for 30 right there on Felipe Lopez. Oh, man. Yeah, I got to see that. Captain Spartan says, I'm crying tears of excitement, as you should. That's a double whammy. You rob one of your hated division rivals, and you get the best linebacker in the draft. Couldn't have gone any better for your Steelers, if you ask me. Ali Side says, who would have thought the first trade would be at 10 with all the quarterbacks on the board and the Redskins? He says, getting close to the quarterback. Here's the next pick. The Dolphins are on the board, and here they go.
With the 13th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Christian Wilkins.
So Christian Wilkins is the pick, defensive tackle. I feel bad because I didn't even have this man going in the first round of my mock draft, and I didn't realize it until after I had finished that I would have put him at 14 with the Falcons. So, I didn't even realize I hadn't put him in my mock draft. I had put him in my mock draft without trades. I had no idea. I didn't put him in. I didn't even realize I didn't put him in my mock draft with trades. So he would have been my pick for the Falcons at 14 because the Falcons wanted Ed Oliver, and the Falcons fall just a pick short of getting the guy that they wanted. And the Dolphins take Christian Wilkins, impactful defensive lineman out of Clemson. So, Reese says, this time next year, you will be eating some humble pie when it comes to Devon White, my old friend. Okay, so let's have this discussion right now. All right. As we see how hyped Christian Wilkins is, he almost knocked Raj down. I love it. I don't dislike Devon White, okay? I just don't think he's better than Devin Bush. If you watch my breakdown of him, I told you I have doubts about him being the best linebacker in this draft. But the guy is uber talented. He's a speed demon. He brings a lot to the table. He's a leader and all of those good things. He checks a lot of boxes. I just don't think he's better than Devin Bush. So there's that. Oh, watch the split. Watch the split. Watch him. Bounce on it. Christian Wilkins, hey, man, that man is funny. JP says Bengals pick is in. They must go receiver. He said they might go receiver or offensive line, and they went offensive line. Derek B says, I'm getting nervous, Lou. For what? We're taking Dwayne Haskins. What you getting nervous for? Reese says, this is what happens when you make a position coach or head coach. A tackle will move to guard at the next level. Sean Mack says, great pick by Cincinnati. Sucks for my Browns. I mean, he loves Jonah Williams. Much like he loved the Dallas Cowboys second round pick last year out of Texas. I don't know what it is with Sean and these offensive linemen with the last name Williams. Last year it was Connor Williams. This year it's Jonah Williams. But he loves him some Williams along the offensive line. And I told him last year that Connor Williams was garbage. And he was funky for the Cowboys last year. I'm waiting for your excuses. I know they're going to be down there, Sean. John Niner says, what are the chances Dalton Risner drops to the second round of my Niners? Slim to none, bruh. Slim and none. I don't think he gets past the Texans. But with the way this draft is playing out, I take that back. With the way that this draft is playing out, and Jonah Williams so far only being the lone offensive lineman taken in this draft, you could see an instance where Dalton Risner slips to the second round. I expect there to be a run on offensive linemen at some point in the first round, though. And I think Risner is going to be a part of that run. Night. Night, guys. George says, first of all, thank you for the super chat, George. Really appreciate it. He says, do you think the Skins will take Haskins or Locke? You know which one I want them to take, George, but I think they're going to take Haskins. You already heard that the two people that matter in our organization love Haskins, and that's who I think they're going to take. I am a Drew Lock guy. I haven't heard one person other than Jay Gruden say they like Drew Lock. The scouts haven't said they like Lock. They like Daniel Jones. Ownership and front office management said they like Haskins. I think we're going with Haskins. So thank you for the super chat, though. Let's see. Continue to come down here and get some more of these comments. Sean Mack says, once again, you and I are on the same page. Jonah Williams is the best offensive lineman in this draft class. Dre 2 Dope says, so the Skins got a chance to get Haskins or Locke if Miami doesn't take one of them. We'll see which one they like the most. He's going to be there for us. Atlanta's definitely not taking a quarterback. Their pick is already in. And so they're both going to be on the board. I think they're going to take Haskins. Haskins comes off the board, which makes me sick to my stomach, really. Because, you know, I'm a Drew Lock guy, and I didn't think he would be here. And the fact that he's here and available, I really wanted my Redskins to take him. But he's not going to be the Redskins pick at 15. John Perez says, Haskins is definitely making it 15 now, which we see that to be the case. Reese says, in all seriousness, Lou, with Levante David moving to middle linebacker, he and Devon White are a hell of a 1-2 punch. You have to give me that. Oh yeah, I'm not disputing that. Again, I think you misquoted me, and I think you have misplaced my position on how I feel about Devon White. Falcons pick is in. Let's see. I think it's an offensive lineman. Andre Dillard is my guess.
19 NFL draft. The Atlanta Falcons select Chris Lindstrom, guard.
Okay, they go Lindstrom guard to solidify that offensive line. He's the best guard in the draft, and he comes off the board. I had him mocked to the Raiders at 27. He comes off the board. This guy's a road grader. I mean, guy's a physical menace in the run game. There's going to be a big-time back coming out of BC next year, and part of the reason that guy was eaten at BC is because Lindstrom was just moving bodies in the run game. I mean, he's solid in the pass game, but where he makes his money, where he does his work is in the run game. The guy is a force. As a matter of fact, being that we've had a couple of guys come off the board, let's go to my rankings. Let's start with the defensive line. Christian Wilkins came off the board. And so we go here to the defensive line. And this is what it looks like. And I think I may have underrated Christian Wilkins. I've said that. I said that on the podcast. I'm not changing how I feel. I think that he's the 6th best defensive lineman in this draft. I'll either be proven right or horribly wrong. Either way, I still think he's a good football player. And I keep trying to tell people, and that's A.J. Dillon. For those of you who don't know, that's A.J. Dillon at running back for Boston College. That's going to be a stud in next year's draft. And he's a guy that just moves people. Chris Lindstrom is just He's a guy that moves people. Man, is he going to be good. Anyway, that's a big pickup for the Atlanta Falcons. They had a lot of issues up front along their offensive line. I still think they have an issue at tackle, potentially. But they probably feel like they can address that later in the draft. This was great value here at 14 with Lindstrom. So they make that selection. So let's go to the offensive line now and look at my selections there. And so I had Lindstrom as my 8th best offensive lineman in this draft, which tells you how highly I think of him. I think he's a really good offensive lineman in this draft. And so he's off the board now. And I really think that the Falcons got themselves a really good football player in Chris Lindstrom. So he comes off the board now. And let's get back to your comments as the Redskins are now on the board. Super Chat Skins fan all day says, let's get Metcalf. Let's not. I feel like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie. Let's not. All right. He says, let's get Metcalf. And I'm like, let's not do that. Okay. All right. Brian Burns or Drew Lock for me. We're going to take Haskins. I don't have a problem with it at all whatsoever. Let's get through some of these comments before the Redskins make their pick. Let's see. Sean Mack says, I had teammate Chase ranked higher than Gary, as do I, as you saw in my rankings. Reese says, how do the players at home get the draft hat, Lou? Because ESPN has camera guys there. So that's how they get the hat. Marcus Purnell says, MP, what's good? He says, Brian Burns or your boy Drew Lock. Who you got, bro? I'd take either one. Preferably the quarterback because I love him and that's the best. That's the most important position. But we're not taking either one of those guys. We're going to take Dwayne Haskins, okay? Atlas says, can't say we're not reaching for a quarterback when Jones goes 6. Zenny Dragon says, not sure about Rashawn Gary, but since I saw that Skip Bayless is trashing the pick, I'm feeling more confident now. Hashtag go pack go. Nick Riley says, Packers reaching on overrated Gary. You know your boy has watched him from day one and was way too overhyped. Chase Winovich is so much better. I tend to agree. So, and that's coming from a Michigan fan. So there you are, Zenny Dragon. J. Man says, dude, Lou, you're looking like you're getting a quarterback at 15. That I am. And now the question is which one? I told you, I think I know which one it is. I'm hoping Drew Lock, but I'm expecting Dwayne Haskins. And I don't have a problem with that at all. J. Man says, Falcons aren't taking a QB either. You're all set, man. Reese says, has to play DN, Lou. They got Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith playing outside linebacker in their 3-4 defense. I'm assuming that they're going to ask him to put on some weight because he's 277 pounds. Like, that's not big enough to play edge rusher or 5 technique in a 3-4 defense. So I'm assuming that he's going to have to put on some weight, which he probably can put on some weight. Scruffy Beard Bear says, if both QBs available, we should trade back and get picks. But somebody's got to want to come up to 15. And really, there's no reason to come up. The pick is in for the Redskins. It's Dwayne Haskins. I'm all but 100% positive. I'm 99.72% positive the pick is Dwayne Haskins. Going through some more of these comments. Redskin Highlight says, Haskins is definitely the pick at 15 now. I feel the same way. J. Camman says, dude, you're going to have a choice with QBs, but I have a weird feeling you may not take either one. It's impossible that we don't take a quarterback here. Impossible. The best case scenario happened for the Redskins where both quarterbacks were sitting there. I surmise that they're going to take one of them. Christian McCoy says, I guess that's payback for us taking William Jackson's right in front of the Steelers. Payback's a BI, isn't it? Let's see. Calienta in Los Cales says, Skins got to pick Lock if he's available. Haskins isn't ready. You know how I feel about the pick. The pick is in. And the commissioner should be walking to the podium any second now. Chris Lee says, Louie, Drew Lock is there at 15. Should we get him? We should, but we're not. I think it's going to be Haskins, guys. Haskins Haskins, and more Haskins. Sean Mack says, Connor Williams will be a Pro Bowler. Laughing my ass off. Here's the pick, guys.
With the 15th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins is the pick. I knew he was going to be the pick. There are going to be a lot of Redskins fans that are not excited about the pick. I don't have a problem with the pick. I think the guy is very talented. He's very raw. He's not ready to play. Good thing for him. He doesn't have to play this year. This is the only issue I have with getting a quarterback here, whether it was Drew Lock or Dwayne Haskins, is Jay Gruden going to be around to coach this guy? If the answer is yes, then I love this pick because he's going to be able to grow with Jay Gruden in that Redskins offense. If Jay Gruden is not going to be around, then you're going to have turmoil. He's going to have to go through more offensive coordinators unless they're promoting from within. They promoted our quarterbacks coach, O'Connell, from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator. And unless he's being promoted to head coach, you're going to have some turnover there, and that's not good for a young quarterback. But this is a guy from the DMV area. I think they want to sell tickets. He's talented. I like Dwayne Haskins. He's not a great athlete. And so you got to protect him. Our offensive line, when healthy, will be able to protect him. There is so much value in this selection. Not having to trade anything, getting this guy. The only question that I have is how will he develop? He's not ready yet, but he doesn't have to be ready. Why? Because we've got two quarterbacks on the roster that are going to play in 2019. Hopefully, Case Keenum takes every single snap for the Redskins in 2019, and we don't have to go to Colt McCoy. But Haskins has talent. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. He's not a finished product. He's young. He's raw. He only had 1 year of experience at Ohio State. There's a lot of things that he can get better at, but he's smart. He's talented, and he's got a big arm. I think that this guy can be a great NFL quarterback, and I was just a Drew Lock guy. That's all. So Redskins take Haskins. I knew they were going to take him. I knew that was going to be the pick. Carolina Panthers are now on the board. I think this is going to be an edge rusher. If they're good on Montez Sweat and his heart, he's going to be the pick. If they're not good on Montez Sweat, then the pick is going to be offensive line. Look for a guy like Andre Dillard or a guy like Jawan Taylor to come off the board here. If Montez Sweat's heart doesn't check out, look for the Panthers to go with an offensive lineman. But if it does check out, Sweat is the pick. I don't think that they are going to go with Brian Burns. I think he's a little undersized. He's better fit for a 3-4 defense than a 4-3 defense. So I really expect the Panthers to go with either Montez Sweat or to go the route of offensive line to protect Cam Newton and potentially open up some holes in the run game. So let's get to your comments. Reese says, I haven't heard Mel Kiper say one word. Why is he even there? Nick Riley says, draft falling perfect for my Vikings to get Andre Dillard, Garrett Bradbury, Jawan Taylor all on the board. At this point, you're guaranteed to get at least one of those players. The Panthers could throw a wrench in that, taking one of those players. Let's hear what they have to say about the Redskins.
Definitely a split inside the Redskins organization. You had some on the football side of this building that wanted to address other positions, and the quarterback position was not on that list. And then you have those in the front office, team president Bruce Allen, and of course, Daniel Snyder, the owner, who have been locked in on Dwayne Haskins. I was actually told that Daniel Snyder attended one interview during the combine, and that was in Haskins. That was with Haskins. And tonight, Trey, he got his guy.
See, Diana Rossini has been awesome throughout this whole process. She is the one of the reporters for ESPN that has been covering the Redskins, and she's been all over it. She's the reason I knew we were taking Haskins. She's been tweeting out over the last 48 hours that Jay Gruden, well, not Jay Gruden, there are other members, and pretty much what she just said, there were members of the Redskins organization that wanted nothing to do with the quarterback position, and if they did, it was Daniel Jones, but they wanted to address other issues, mainly edge rusher, which is the camp that I was in if you weren't going to draft Drew Lock. Haskins was a play for Bruce Allen and Daniel Snyder, and Diana Rossini has been saying that all along. She was right, and I knew she was right, and I knew that was going to be the selection. at 15. Dre Too Dope says, is it just me or does Haskins reminds me of Doug Williams as a quarterback? I think that's why he's really going to end up with us more than him knowing Dan's son. Let's get to the quarterback position. As you can see, that's what the quarterback room looks like. The Panthers pick is in. Commissioner coming to the podium. Let's see what he has to say. I think it's going to be edge rusher or offensive line.
NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers select Brian Burns, defensive end.
So it did end up being Burns. I said it would be edge rusher. I didn't think Burns would be the guy because he was a little light. He doesn't fit to me as much in a 4-3 defense, but that's what they played at Florida State. So I'd be remiss to say he can't play in a 4-3 defense. I think he could still put on another 10 pounds. This guy, to me, is the most polished pass rusher in this draft from a speed perspective. Bosa is more of a quickness, power rusher with skill. But if you're talking speed rusher with polish, Brian Burns is the smoothest. Let me say it that way. Brian Burns is the smoothest pass rusher in this draft. I wanted my Redskins to draft him. And the reason why is because I think he's going to be a stud. It wouldn't shock me if he had 10.5 sacks this year. He's that good of an edge rusher. And he showed his athleticism at the combine. I love this pick for the Panthers. This guy's going to be a stud. I really believe that to be the case. I think Brian Burns is going to tear the league apart. But obviously, the Redskins drafted Haskins. And he's off the board now. And his idol growing up is Warren Moon. And that's the comp that I have for him is Warren Moon. I just see him as a guy that can stand in the pocket and deliver the football wherever he wants to. And I think he's got a chance to be special. I really, really do. And so Haskins is now off the board. And now Drew Lock is the lone survivor at the quarterback position. And I thought this guy was going to go off the board relatively early in this draft, and he's hanging around. Is Drew Lock. As for the edge rushers in this draft, Brian Burns now comes off the board. And so now Bosa, Allen, Burns, and Farrell and Rashawn Gary are now all off the board. So my 1, 2, 3, 5 are now all off the board as well as number 7. And so it'll be interesting to see how many more of these guys come off the board because I think with Montez Sweat, that heart condition scares the bejesus out of people. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes here to the Giants at 17. It wouldn't shock me. He was the pick at 6 for me. Without the heart condition, with the heart condition, he's fallen like a brick now. It may be him. It may not be him. You know, with the trade that the Giants made and no more Odell Beckham Jr., I know they signed Golden Tate in free agency, and they re-signed Sterling Shepard in the offseason. They still need a number 1 wide receiver. They don't have one on the roster after trading Odell Beckham. Shame on you when you step to the old dirty Beckham. Now that he's in Cleveland, I think 17 is definitely in play for Hollywood Brown, DK Metcalf, and A.J. Brown and N'Keal Harry. So it would not shock me if the Giants jumped up and snatched a receiver here at 17, and then we start to see the run on receivers at number 17. So let's get back to the comment section. All right. Let's see. So I want to get to some more of your comments. Cloud says, who did I want? You already knew who I wanted. Yin Yang Domain says, I like Sweat and Burns here. Neither one went. We were talking about the Redskins pick. Derek B says, imagine if they trade back. You knew they weren't going to trade back, not with their guy on the board. The Cubone says, what's up, Lou? What's going on, Q? Good to see you and hear from you. Donald Johnson says, Jags and Washington have the best value picks. And why is Fant still on the board? Noah Fant is supposed to still be on the board right now. He wasn't supposed to come off yet. He'll come off in the 20s. Let's see. Reese says, I got a power surge, Lou. Of course, this happens now. Yikes. Hopefully that comes on sooner rather than later. Let's see. Sean Mack says, Your Skins just got a franchise QB. Congratulations, brother. I appreciate that, man. We needed it in DC. Now there's hope for the future. Let's just hope we got it right. You know, nothing will be worse than Brian Burns turning into a double-digit sack getter, a perennial double-digit sack getter. Meanwhile, we're doing this again in 5 years because Haskins is a chump. And what would make this 10 times worse is if Drew Lock is what I think he is. That would make this, to hell with Brian Burns. If Drew Lock turns out to be what I think he could possibly be in the league, this is going to make this 10 times worse. Atlas says, congratulations, Lou. What happens to Rosen at this point? Maybe the Giants are still in play for Rosen. And remember, there are teams like the Chargers and the Patriots out there that could potentially be willing to give up a first round or a second round pick. So Rosen is still in play for some teams out there. John Perez says, yes, Haskins to the Washington Redskins couldn't be more happier. Ali Side says, Washington fans should be hyped because you guys didn't do anything for him and y'all didn't overpay for a QB. Good job, Redskins. Atlas says, it was reported that Jay wanted Jones, but Bruce and Dan wanted Haskins. This basically guarantees Gruden is out of there. If we could only fire Bruce, too. John Perez says, I'm the happiest man on earth right now. J. Camman says, Haskins was supposed to be a Giant. This should be interesting. Haskins will be a great backup for Alex Smith. Negative. Colts fan says, Dwayne Haskins will change your franchise. He's a stud. I hope you're right. I hope you are right. Rodney Ray says, at least we didn't trade up. And that's how I feel. All right. The Giants pick is in. I think this is going to be a receiver. If it's not edge rusher, I think edge rusher is the first priority. I think Brian Burns would have been a very realistic possibility. He's gone. The Panthers took him off the board at 16. I now think that if the heart condition isn't right, and I don't think the Giants are going to take Montez Sweat, I think this is a wide receiver. You know, you give up Odell Beckham Jr. Shame on you if you step to the old dirty Beckham. I think that this pick here is going to be a wide receiver. Which one? That's the $1 million question. It wouldn't shock me if it's Hollywood, but it could be DK Metcalf. I hope it's DK Metcalf. Please be DK Metcalf. Donald Johnson says, Saxonville 2.0. We back. Yes, Jacksonville has an abundance of riches up front. And they just lost Dante Fowler Jr. last year, and they replenished that position this year with Josh Allen. Emperor Meat says, Lou, stop hating on Haskins. I'm not hating on Haskins. I just like Drew Lock better. How am I hating on him? It's the same thing that my man Reed has confused me, saying that I like Devin Bush better than I like Devon White. I don't dislike White. I don't dislike Haskins. All right, here's the Giants pick at 17. I think it's going to be a wide receiver.
From Camp Humphreys in South Korea, please join me in welcoming members of the 2nd Infantry Division, ROC U.S. Combined Division. Among them is Warrant Officer James Benecki. He's a native.
J. Camman says, not a lot of trades thus far. It's not. Nick Riley says, Cody Ford is my second favorite offensive lineman in the draft, but I don't think he fits our zone scheme.
With the 17th pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle.
Dexter Lawrence is the pick. I think very highly. As a matter of fact, I hate this pick because I think this guy is so good. And they drafted another defensive tackle last year in B.J. Hill, and he had himself a hell of a season. Now you add Dexter Lawrence to the mix. This dude is a stud. I don't know what people are missing with him. I think he's better than the first Clemson or a defensive tackle that was taken in the draft in Christian Wilkins. Yes, Wilkins is a leader. Yes, Dexter Lawrence was suspended for PED usage. I don't care anything about any of that stuff. This dude is a stud, all right? This dude is a beast. And when you watch him on tape, you see a guy that has some twitchiness to him. Everyone wants to just put him in a box. Oh, he's 340 pounds. He's a first and second down run stuffer. Man, this dude can get to the quarterback, man. F what you heard. All right. I love this pick. As a matter of fact, let me go to my rankings for the defensive line, and you'll see just how much I love this guy. If you look at my defensive line rankings, look at where I have Dexter Lawrence. He's third on this list, as we can start taking some of these guys off the list. And I'm amazed at the fact that I'm amazed that the Giants took him at 17. He's a hell of a football player, though. So Quentin Williams is gone. Ed Oliver is gone. Dexter Lawrence, my third-rated defensive lineman, he's gone now. Jeffrey Simmons would have been gone, but he suffered a torn ACL working out prior to the draft. He might not be selected in the first round. If the Eagles don't take him, I don't think he's going to go in the first round of this draft. Christian Wilkins is gone, my number 6 prospect at the defensive line position. Tristan Hill is a guy that a lot of people don't know about out of Central Florida. Guy's a hell of a football player. He's very twitchy, similar to Ed Oliver in this draft. Let's see. Reese says, Montez Sweat is like Tom Petty. Yeah, I'm free falling. The heart condition was going to do that to him. The heart condition was going to do it. Look at Mama Lawrence, boy. She is excited. Their life has changed forever, man. I love it. Love it. Jonathan Love says, hashtag don't fire Bruce Allen. Oh, my God. Nick Riley says, Andre Dillard is without the best pass blocking offensive tackle in the draft, but I just don't know about his ability to run block. Your Vikings are up on the board, and your pick is in. I think it's going to be an offensive lineman. It's just a matter of which one they decide to take. Or if the medical checks out, I wouldn't be shocked to see them go Montez Sweat here. To me, Sweat could easily comp to Danielle Hunter. I think he's more Ziggy Ansah than Danielle Hunter, but I wouldn't put that past them to add another edge rusher and potentially have a nasty tandem off the edge. I think they're taking an offensive lineman here, though. Slip Ammo says, would you say Jonah Williams is the best offensive lineman in the draft? Yep. My rankings say as such, as you've had a chance to look at, just in case you forgot. That's what my ranking looks like. Jonah Williams was at the top of my list of offensive linemen in this draft. As you look at the edge rushers, once more, Montez Sweat still sitting there as the 4th best defensive lineman in this draft. Chase Winovich, another guy, Zach Allen out of BC, Jalen Ferguson to round out my edge rushers in this draft. As we get back to live coverage, JP says, we got Haskins, Lou. Couldn't be more excited. He says, I told you Haskins would be a Redskin. You did. Reese says, I bet this free fall is really making Montez sweat. I can't with you, Ree. The Vikings pick is in. Here's what they are going to do.
In the 2019 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Garrett Bradbury.
Bradbury. Hell of a pick for the Minnesota Vikings. Day one, plug-and-play guy comes in and immediately upgrades their offensive line. To me, by far and away, the best center in this draft. You could argue he was the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. As a matter of fact, when you go to my offensive line ranking, you'll see that I had Garrett Bradbury all the way at number 3 in this draft. He's a plug-and-play center, man. Day one, I look at this guy, and I see Travis Frederick all over again. I mean, he's going to come in and just change the way the Vikings operate up front. He's going to control things along the offensive line in terms of setting up protection. He's so athletically gifted, though. The thing that you love about him is his ability to get to the second level. As you can see, he can get to the second level with ease. And it's his ability to get to the reach block. It's his ability to double team, get to the second level. I mean, look at him right there. That's Dexter Lawrence he's blocking, folks. That's no slouch. That's the guy that just went a pick ahead of him. I mean, he's a machine in the interior of your offensive line. And I think he's going to have a Travis Frederick type impact on this Vikings offensive line. I really do. As you can see, he's my third offensive lineman, and he's now off the board. So offensive line, I think, is about to start really seeing these guys come off the board one after another. And Garrett Bradbury is a hell of a football player. He's now a Minnesota Viking. All right, so Derek B says, we had to go QB. I'm just happy Bruce and Dan didn't panic and mortgage the future. I as well am really happy at the fact that they didn't do anything stupid as well. Derek B says, now all we need is a pass rusher, guard, 2 receivers, tight end, safety, and we're back to competing in the conference. Well put, Derek B. I couldn't have said it any better myself. All we need is like 10 more players and we're back. We're back like cook crack. Oh, man. SoFlo Sports says, you scare me, bro, saying that Dexter Lawrence is better than Wilkins. I'm just telling you. Dexter Lawrence is better than Wilkins. And again, I said this on my podcast. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, let's look at it this way. Dexter Lawrence, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say Lawrence is an 8. Christian Wilkins could be a 7. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And I'm not saying Wilkins stinks. I'm just saying that I think that Dexter Lawrence is better. That's it. The same thing I was saying earlier with the 2 linebackers, the 2 Devons. I'm not saying that Devon White is trash. I just think Devin Bush is better. I think Devin Bush is a 9. And I think Devin White is a 7. Okay? Doesn't mean I don't like Devin White. I just think Devin Bush is better. Same thing with Haskins. I don't dislike, like Kevin Sheehan is a guy that I think a lot of Redskins fans listen to and enjoy listening to. He's a Redskin fan just like us that lives, breathes, eats, sleeps Redskins football. He's a lifer just like us. He don't want anything to do with Dwayne Haskins. He thinks Haskins is going to be a bust. He's going to be pissed, and tomorrow he's going to rant and rave about the fact that the Redskins made an epic mistake. I don't think that's the case. He thinks Haskins stinks. I don't. I just thought Drew Lock was better. That's it. I thought Lock was an 8, and I think Haskins is a 6.5. I could be wrong. Haskins could be the 8. Haskins could be a 10. But that's just how I feel. Doesn't mean the other guy is trash. It just means I think one is better than the other. These things are mutually exclusive. It doesn't, because you like one doesn't mean you hate the other. You guys have to stop making it seem as such. The Titans pick is in at 19. This could easily be offensive line. I think here is where Hollywood Brown comes off the board. They need a burner for Marcus Mariota. They need a game changer. Somebody that can get the football into their hands and he can make something happen. I think this is where you get that guy. Edge rusher, definitely on the board for them here as well. But for me, the pick here is either offensive line or wide receiver. DK Metcalf, definitely in play. Especially because to me, DK needs to go to a team that already has a number 1 wide receiver entrenched. If you're drafting DK Metcalf to be your number 1 wide receiver, you're in trouble because he's nobody's number 1. Similar to Calvin Ridley last year, you need to already have a legit number 1. If you have a legit number 1 in place, then DK Metcalf can shine as a number 2 receiver in this league. And the Titans have a bona fide number 1. I think we saw the makings of Corey Davis becoming a true number 1 in this league last year. And so if you want to take DK Metcalf here, have no problems with it whatsoever. It'd actually be a really good fit for him. Here comes the commish to make the pick for the Titans. And it looks like he's bringing some young youth football players along with him.
To join me for the Titans pick are 13 high school football captains from teams across Nashville. These teams represent Metro Nashville public and private schools in Davidson County. They also exemplify...
Sean Mack says, Nick at Night loves the pick the Vikings made of Garrett Bradbury. He says, love the pick. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Move Pat the guard where he was better at Ohio State. Let's get it. Skull! All right. He loves the pick. That's a great pick for them. King Stacy says, Broncos getting Greedy Williams. They move back, remember. Titans pick. Here it is.
Tennessee Titans select Jeffrey Simmons.
Oh!
Defensive tackle.
Oh! Titans go Jeffrey Simmons. I thought he could still go in the first round. I thought it would be the Eagles. Look at that. Draft and stash for the Tennessee Titans. He probably won't be able to help them this season. Maybe he's able to come off the IR at the midpoint of the season. I doubt it. I think this is a redshirt year for him. He's a draft and stash guy. But look, this dude here would have been a top 10 pick. Yeah, he had some off the field issues in high school. ESPN gonna bring it all up now. He's a good dude, man. And I talked to my guy at Mississippi State, Sarge, who gives me the lowdown on all the Mississippi State players. And he said, look, man, Jeffrey was a consummate professional on and off the field, was one of the best students on the team. He was speaking at different engagements, speaking out against what he did. He hasn't gotten in any trouble since. It was a situation that should have never happened involving his sister that he shouldn't have got involved in. He was very remorseful. Nothing has happened. And again, he's a good dude, man. I don't know him personally. I'm telling you what was told to me of someone that knows him. And he's getting a second chance. And I'm happy for him being a first round pick. And I love the fact that he's getting an opportunity to play. And this is a dominant defensive lineman. This is tremendous value. At 19, for a guy that would have been a top 10 pick, it's tremendous value. And I knew someone was going to get them a gem. I just didn't know who. It's the Titans. So, and this is the video. This is the clip of him getting involved with the girl right there. Yeah, he's going to town on that girl that was messing with his sister. He shouldn't have done it. But again, he's been remorseful. He's grown. And like I said, I've talked to a guy that's intimate with that situation and knows Jeffrey Simmons, and he spoke nothing but good words about this guy. And so it is what it is. I think Jeffrey Simmons is a hell of a football player, and I think he's blossoming into an even better person. So I don't know what's being said about him right now, but that's that. Broncos getting Greedy Williams, says King Stacy. They traded back to 20, remember, with the Steelers. I still want to know what the compensation for that is. They're probably going to tell us now. But this would be a great spot to open up the package and pop the top on the lid that's on the cornerback position. You could definitely do that here. And I would not be shocked if the Broncos did do that here.
Around the league, the football people in the league pretty much felt like all the information they gathered from
Okay, so they're still talking about that. John Niner says, Reisner and Bradbury are the best O-linemen in the draft. I tend to agree. They're two of my top 3 offensive linemen in this draft, with Jonah Williams being number 1. Reese says, Lou, how in the hell do the prospects get? I already told you, they get the hat because there are camera crews there filming them. That's how they get the hat. Those camera crews have the hat for every NFL team with them, and whatever team ends up drafting him, that's how they get the hat. Courageous Matt says, if he falls that far, would you take Montez Sweat with our second round pick at 46? Again, the medical has to check out. It doesn't matter what the talent says. If you're afraid that, and I saw a tweet from Ian Rappaport, which you can't, it's not worth the actual Twitter page that it's on, because it's coming from Ian Rappaport. But he said something to the effect of the thickness of the lining around his heart wasn't as bad as initially thought. They were saying something about being 2 centimeters thick, and it's really not too thick. Whatever. I don't want to get into that stuff because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They're saying it might have been a misdiagnosis. Whatever the case may be, teams don't seem to feel that way because he hasn't been drafted yet. John Niner says, congratulations on Dwayne Haskins. That was a major steal. Sean Mack says, this has been a weird draft, bro. Why do you say that? Because of the lack of trades, lack of movement, lack of teams reaching for quarterbacks. We knew it was going to be a defensive draft. I always sing the praises of quarterbacks and how what's going to happen. They're going to get pushed up. But this was a draft where I said to myself, not a lot of teams need quarterback. Not a lot of teams need quarterback. And this is such a defensive heavy draft. I mean, when you look at what's been done thus far, I mean, we've seen 3 offensive linemen go. Let's go through the list quickly and see how many players have been taken from where. So at the quarterback position, we've seen 3 go there. At the running back position, that's still bare. Nobody's been taken at wide receiver. We got 1 tight end in TJ Hawkinson off the board. We got 3 offensive linemen taken in Jonah Williams, Garrett Bradbury, and Chris Lindstrom. Along the defensive line, you've got Quentin Williams, Christian Wilkins gone. You've got Ed Oliver gone. You got Quentin Williams gone. And you also got Dexter Lawrence gone. So, and now Jeffrey Simmons, my 4th rated defensive lineman, is gone. So now you're left with Tristan Hill, my 5th rated defensive lineman, Jerry Tillery, my 7th rated defensive lineman. And then I think you get into the day 2 guys with Tillery, Draymond Jones. Tillery could sneak in the back end of the first round, but I think him along with Draymond Jones are going to go in the second round. Netzel's Toys says, Seahawks are trading down again. I feel it. I don't think they're trading down. They got 2 first rounders. They don't need any more picks. We know their motto and their mantra, especially with Snyder and company. They love to acquire as many picks as possible. The more the merrier has always been the way they've operated. And so they like to throw as many darts at the dartboard as possible. And if they can get more selections, I don't doubt that they would try to, but at some point you got to try to get elite players and stop going with the quantity over quality approach. You got 2 first rounders. I say you just stick with what you got and you move forward there. And if anybody hears anything, I'm pouring more smoothie into my cup to fill up for the home stretch as we are now halfway through the draft as the Denver Broncos are about to make their selection. Let's hear what the commissioner has to say.
With the 20th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Noah Fant.
Noah Fant, tight end out of Iowa, is the pick. I told you, I don't think any corners are going in the first round. I really don't. The Steelers were the one team that I thought would go corner. They didn't go corner. The Broncos could have went corner. I don't think corners are going to go tonight. Noah Fant is what Joe Flacco has always wanted, which is a safety blanket at the tight end position. I didn't think they would go tight end in the first round. Here's why. They've drafted tight end in the first 3 rounds of the last 3 or 4 drafts. Now, Jake Butt has torn his ACL like 19 times, so I don't think they feel like they're going to get anything out of him. They just re-signed Jeff Hireman, but they look at him as depth at the tight end position. They don't look at him as a number 1 option. And they just got another tight end last year, I believe, in the draft, in the Wisconsin tight end. I can't think of his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about, who was drafted last year. He's got some talent too, so I thought that they wouldn't go tight end, but they did. They shocked me, and Noah Fant is the pick, and he is awesome. My comp for him, as we get to the tight end position, and both Iowa tight ends are now off the board. My comp for Noah Fant if you didn't know, is Eric Ebron. And this guy's going to tear it up, man. He's an athlete. He still has to develop as a route runner, I believe, but day one, he's going to be one of the best athletes on the field. Day one. He comes on the field. There aren't many safeties in the league that can run with him. I don't know if there are any tight end, any linebackers that can run with this guy. Look at him run away from this. That's a safety, folks. That safety is laboring trying to keep up with Noah Fant. This is Ohio State right here, if you're watching ESPN. All right? That's Ohio State. That means that guy's an athlete. Ran right by him. Okay? Noah Fant's a beast. And Joe Flacco is at his best when he's got a tight end he can get the football to. Noah Fant is going to do that for the Denver Broncos. And so For the first time tonight, for the first of 2 times in this first round, Seattle Seahawks are now on the clock as Noah Fant is the selection for the Denver Broncos as he comes off the board. And now the top 2 tight ends on my board now gone. So Fant gone, Hawkinson gone. No, I think Irv Smith could easily go to the Green Bay Packers at 30. I think that's the next time we see a tight end go is 30 or 32 to the Patriots. And I heard someone earlier reference the Patriots potentially trying to trade with the Minnesota Vikings for Kyle Rudolph, and that may be heating up. That's a possibility. If the Patriots decide to do that, then that would probably take them out of drafting a tight end in the first round. But in any event, let's get back to live action and let's get to some more of your comments. Sean Mack says, A.J. Brown is the number 1 receiver in this class, bro. I disagree. You've seen my wide receiver group. As a matter of fact, I've talked about it on my podcast. I gave you my rankings, but just in case, since we haven't had a chance to look at it tonight, that's what my wide receiver ranking looks like. Marquise Brown, Hollywood, is at the top. He's different. Just like Kyler Murray was different at quarterback, Hollywood Brown is different at the receiver position. Then N'Keal Harry for me is everything you're looking for at a wide receiver. He doesn't have the necessary top-end speed to be a Calvin Johnson, AJ Green, Julio, or AJ Green type of force, but he could be Des Bryant, which is my comp for him. And if he's Des Bryant, who's not signing up for that? So anyway, let's get back to more of your comments. As I mentioned, Colts fan says, could my Colts get a corner at 26? It's possible. I liked what you did last year at the cornerback position. I know Tease Tabor has, not Tease Tabor, that's in Detroit. I know that the French assassin Pierre Desir played really well for you last year. And I don't know how you feel about Quincy Wilson and what he looks like, but maybe corner is a selection for you at 26. Sean Mack says, great, damn pick by the Titans. Love him. It was a really good pick by the Tennessee Titans, getting a player that, like I said, would have been a top 10 pick in Jeffrey Simmons. Atlas says, so basically Tennessee is calling it a year and moving on from Mariota next year. They're not saying that. They saw a chance to get talent and some great value, and they decided not to pass on it. That's what I'll say. Everybody thought Greedy Williams was going off the board at 20 to the Denver Broncos. No such luck. JP says, Dolphins reportedly talking Josh Rosen trade. He also says, I'm really confident we got the QB position right this time. Reese says, I bet New England is intrigued by Montez Sweat. Sean Mack says, some reaches, surprising lack of trades, etc. Because I asked him, why was he so surprised about the draft thus far? As we continue to move down, Sean Mack says, Denver should have went cornerback. I think they like the fact that no corner has been touched yet. And I still haven't seen the compensation for the trade. But know this, if it continues that no corner goes in the first round, they're going to get pretty much the pick of the litter in the second round at the cornerback position. They're going to get their hands on a cornerback. So Troy Fumagalli, thank you, King Stacy, for that. Troy Fumagalli was the guy that I was thinking about for Denver. So I didn't expect them to go tight end because I thought they had an abundance of tight ends. You just throw a bunch of those darts there and you hope one of them sticks. But they said, look, we want an elite tight end, and that's what they are getting in Noah Fant. Chris Deaver says, oh, appreciate the super chat, man. He says, great work tonight, my man. New York, LOL. Laughing at them selecting Daniel Jones. Colts fan says, Lou, this draft could not have gone better for my Colts. All the receivers, corners, and some elite defensive players still available. It's amazing how this draft is gone, you know. I thought we would have seen more offensive linemen off the board. I knew no corners. Again, I didn't mock out any corners until 20 at Pittsburgh, and they didn't go corner. They went linebacker, and they moved up to do so. So I wasn't high on the cornerback position as Green Bay is making their selection.
Green Bay Packers. And with the 21st pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Darnell Savage, defensive back.
So the Packers trade up. We have a trade! Packers trade up and get Darnell Savage, a guy that has been rising up draft boards, a guy that I loved coming out of Maryland. All you got to do is turn on the Ohio State game. Much like I said with Alvin Kamara some 3 years ago, turn on the Texas A&M tape, and that's the only game you need to watch. With him, turn on the Ohio State tape. That's the only game you have to watch. This is a pick six right here. This guy's so explosive and dynamic. He is a guy that is so versatile. Remember earlier, Zenny Dragon asked me about the safety position, and this was the guy that I routed off. He was my number 2 safety on the board. I wanted to move him to number 1. The Ravens trade their pick to the Eagles. Here goes the trade market heating up. Guess what? We got a trade! So the Eagles are now on the board. I think that they've come up to get... The only thing that makes sense here is an offensive lineman. The only reason you would need to get in front of Houston is to get an offensive lineman, unless you were afraid that they were going to try to draft a wide receiver. First of all, let me talk about Green Bay's selection of Savage. This makes up for the reach that I think they had for Gary at the 12th pick. That makes up for it. Darnell Savage is a stud. All right, let me say that. Now, back to the trade. With the Ravens trading back, what is it? The Eagles were at 25, I believe. So trading back 3 spots, getting in front of Houston. That tells me that they're either coming for an offensive lineman because the Texans were looking to do some damage there, or maybe they're coming up to get potentially a corner that they love, and they want to be the first to get into the corner market. Remember, the Texans secondary was overhauled this offseason. Now, they went out and made some moves. Bradley Roby comes in. They also went and got the safety from Jacksonville that was released, and Tashawn Gibson. So they've made some moves, but Jonathan Joseph, at some point, he's got to be long in the tooth and too old to keep producing at a high level. You've got to replace him. And they allowed Kareem Jackson to go to Denver in the offseason. You've got to think that this is for a corner or an offensive lineman. That's what I would think. I'd be shocked if it's anything else. And they felt like Houston might have been a threat to take a guy that they loved. And instead of waiting, 4 picks, they came up or 3 picks. They came up and they're looking to get the guy that they covet here at 22. So if I'm and let me look at the draft chart and see what the compensation most likely is for moving up from 25 to 22. So the draft chart says that to move up from 20. All right, so here's the Eagles-Ravens trade. They get a 4th rounder and a 6th rounder this year from the Eagles. So, and we know the Eagles have never been one for 12-player drafts. Howie Roseman is looking to get in, get out. Roseman had a draft a couple of years ago that was like 4 players. They want value and they want quality over quantity. And so if they feel the need to come up and get a guy, they will do exactly that. I think this is for an offensive lineman. If you're getting in front of Houston, the logical thought process has to be offensive lineman. So the draft chart says to move up 3 spots costs you 60 points. So that's why you saw a bunch of shuffling of late rounders, a 4th and a 6th. So that sounds about right. I still want to know what the hell the package is for the Broncos moving back with the Steelers and what they picked up. I still want to know. because the draft chart says that the Steelers' second and a fourth would be suffice. So I'm anxious to see what they ended up doing. As we get back to your comments, Mr. MRB. Okay, here's the pick for the Eagles. I think it's got to be offensive line.
New pick, because here's Roger Goodell.
The Baltimore Ravens have traded the 22nd pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. With the 22nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Andre Dillard.
There it is. Tackle. And somebody was saying Josh Jacobs, you wouldn't have had to come up unless you were afraid of the Raiders taking Josh Jacobs. And in that case, you would just trade with Houston. You wouldn't trade with the Baltimore Ravens. So it had to be an offensive lineman because you had to be afraid of Houston taking the guy you wanted. That's the only reason you would come up there. So in my mind, that eliminated every position except offensive line. Had to be an offensive lineman. Andre Dillard, by far and away, the most talented pass protector in this draft. He's light on his feet. He's a left tackle all day long, all day strong. And so I think that allows you to move on from Jason Peters. And you got Lane Johnson at the right side. Now you have Andre Dillard on the left side. And you feel like you've got the bookend tackles in Philadelphia for years to come. It's a good move for the Eagles. There's really not much more to say. What more can I say? Other than that's a hell of a move by the Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Texans are on the clock. They didn't lose. Dalton Reisner is still there if you want to tackle. So is Jawan Taylor, who I'm not as high on. You want a hell of an offensive lineman? Get yourself a versatile lineman that can play just about every position up and down the offensive line in Dalton Reisner here if you're the Houston Texans. We'll see what they decide to do. MRB says, what do you think of the Skins pick? I don't love it, but I don't have a problem with the pick. I think Haskins has a chance to be a big time quarterback in this league. I'm not sold yet. Reese says, remember the year the Minnesota Vikings didn't pick anyone? Yeah, was it them or I think it was them or the Chiefs. I think it was Minnesota. When the time ran out and they weren't ready to turn their card in. JP says, is the Redskins offseason officially a home run? No, not at all. Reese says, Savage, if there was ever a perfect name for a safety. Sean Mack says, what a reach. This is almost as bad as the Giants taking Daniel Jones. I'm assuming you're talking about Savage. If you are, I don't agree. Ali Side says, the trade with the Broncos is the 52nd pick in this year's draft, which is the second round, and a third round pick in 2020, and they swap first rounders. Okay, so that makes sense. Like I said that looking at the draft chart, the second round pick was definitely in play, and that a third or a fourth rounder would suffice. And they also decided there was still a little bit of a gap. So I think to close that gap, they swapped first rounders to clean that up. John Niner says, no love for Deebo Samuel, 8th. LOL, I think he's going to be really good in the NFL. Again, I'm not doubting he's going to be good. I just think that there are 7 other receivers that are better. That's pretty much how I feel. Reese says, Greedy Williams is still up there. I didn't want him at 5, but I do like him. Interesting. Hey, I'm trying to tell you, these corners this year, underwhelming. All right? I'm just going to say that. I like Greedy Williams. I don't love Greedy Williams. All right? I really like Rock Ya-Sin. I don't love Rock Ya-Sin. DeAndre Baker's cool. He's all right. You know, I'm not sold on Byron Murphy. The corners this year, I told you, they're underwhelming, and the run on them will come in the second round. Similar to wide receiver. There's no elite receiver in this draft other than Hollywood Brown. And I'm telling you right now, if Hollywood Brown had not had the foot injury, I think he would have been drafted already. He would have wowed people by now. But I don't care that he didn't work out. You know how fast this guy is. Sean Mack says, we have the same top 3, just different order. Nick says, Let me know Marquise Brown is a dog, most definitely the best receiver in this draft. Netzel Toy says, I knew it, damn it. You called it, man. I didn't think it would happen. You guys never cease to amaze me. How you always find a way to trade back in the draft. You said it. You said this over 30 minutes ago. We're going to trade back. And I said, no, you already got another first rounder from the Chiefs. You're good. You're not going to trade back. God damn it. You know your team. You know your damn team. John Niner says, George Kittle started tight end U. Possibly at Iowa. That was started with CJ Fedorowicz. All right? Now I'm playing. Reese says, 2 tight ends from the same school going the first round in the same year. Iowa is truly tight end U. And Colts fan says, this draft couldn't have gone any better. I read that comment already, but to reiterate, there's a lot of stuff available at positions of need for the Colts, including wide receiver. I know Deion Kane was drafted last year. You have high hopes for him. And you still got T.Y. Hilton, and you went out and you signed the Carolina wide receiver to a 1-year deal, $14 million. But it's pretty tempting to break the seal on both, either the receiver position or the cornerback position. Dalton Reisner. Let's see.
Houston Texans select Titus Howard.
That's a reach for me. And I know that a lot of people seem to like Titus Howard. I'm not a fan of reaching for tackles that went to smaller schools in the first round. I'm just not. There are enough quality tackles that went to prominent schools. I think offensive line, more so than any other position, is where you should care about offensive linemen and the type of talent they were going up against, because that matters. Well, he's going up against Auburn here, and I'm pretty sure that's the tape that probably ends up getting him drafted, is that he's going up against Auburn, but Auburn doesn't even have any elite edge rushers either. But nonetheless, I said that to say this. As we take a look at this guy, he doesn't look all that either. Just saying. I can see he has versatility. He plays in both left and right tackle, so that's good. He has some nastiness to him and a little bit of movement skills. But again, I tend to want to stay away from the smaller school guys. And I know the Sun Belt Conference isn't that small. I mean, there's some solid talent coming out of the Sun Belt, but I'm not with Dalton Reisner on the board, man. That's one I'm keeping my eye on. That's one of the picks I'm circling in the first round. And 3-4 years from now, I'm going to look back at that selection, and I'm going to look at Dalton Reisner wherever he lands, and I'm going to look at Titus Howard, and I'm going to say, did you get that right? Mr. Gaines, I'm talking to you. Did you get this right? You need to protect Deshaun Watson. Did you get this right? We're going to find out. We don't know right now. I'm not going to kill him. We're going to see. Time will tell. Well, Dalton Reisner was sitting there, and you take Titus Howard. And maybe you wanted Andre Dillard, and this is what you call reaching for a need over best player available. They reached. We'll see. Anyway. Let's go. Cloud says, great pick for us, Lou. Life after Peters plus a great pass blocker. I love the pick of Andre Dillard for the Eagles. Kevin says, how do you think Amos and Savage will do together? Beautifully. Savage is so versatile that he can play anywhere on the field in the secondary. And that's part of the reason I loved him at the safety position. I think this guy could be a Pro Bowl player sooner rather than later. Reese says, Susie Carver has been with ESPN since I was 4. And Susie looks like she's aging in reverse as well. Melvin Glowson says, when do we start looking for a Trent Williams replacement? Because Trent hasn't been able to stay healthy. Trent still got a good 4 years left in him. I think the biggest issue with Trent is that he's such a great athlete that when you're as good an athlete as him, you run into those injuries that come from tightly wound athletes. Because Trent, as we know, is one of the most athletically gifted offensive tackles in the league. And when you are a guy with not a lot of body fat, and Trent's one of those lean left tackles in this league, you run the risk of those soft tissue injuries. And he's had a ton of those in his career. But by no means is Trent old. Like, I hear, the Trent Williams argument all the time about needing to replace him or trade him. The Los Angeles Rams just re-signed Andrew Whitworth, who's like 37 at left tackle. 37. Now, granted, he's been able to stay relatively healthy throughout his career. And I get it. Trent hasn't been able to. But Trent by no means is in a position to be replaced yet. I think we still got a good 3-4 years of Trent. And I'm looking for Trent to solidify a Hall of Fame career in Washington. Like, we don't have many guys that you look at and say, he's a Hall of Famer. Trent's probably the only guy. But he's still got to play another 3 or 4 years and play at a high level to have it happen. So I think we're good right now. I think you start looking for a Trent Williams replacement maybe a year or two from now. That's what I think. Colts fan says, Lou, right now I'm imagining DK and T.Y. tearing up the league. I'd love for you guys to draft DK Metcalf. That'd be the perfect place for him. Because not only do you have a legit number one in T.Y. Hilton, but I'm not sure that he even has to play the number 2 role for you, with Devin Funchess being on the roster, at least for 1 year. So I would love DK in Indianapolis. That would make a lot of sense. I think the Raiders here, the pick is in. Looking at the two teams in front of them, I don't think you go Josh Jacobs here. I think you can get Jacobs at 27. If you love Josh Jacobs and you just want to make sure no one jumps in front of you to get him, then you go Jacobs here with the news of Beast Mode retiring. But I think here, you went defense earlier. I think here is where you go offense if you're the Oakland Raiders. And I think Dalton Risner would be a great pick here. I really do. So you traded Kelechi Osemele. I think Risner can kick inside. Risner can also play right tackle. If you believe Colton Miller is the left tackle of the future, I think he's a right tackle. Let's see what you do. Maybe Jawan Taylor.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Josh Jacobs.
Okay. They went Jacobs. And that was a possibility. I told you, if you love Jacobs, you take him here. You don't wait till 27 because then you run the risk of somebody trading back into the first round and jumping in front of you. If you love Jacobs, you take him now. And let's take a look at the running back position because he's going to be the only running back taken on the night in what is a thin running back group, but in terms of top-heavy talent. But if you're talking about depth, I think there are some really good guys here. And this is what my running backs list looks like. And Jacobs is now off that list. And if you're looking for a comp, I'll give you my Jacobs comp right now. And it's Dalvin Cook. That's what he looks like to me. He's explosive. He's dynamic out of the backfield as a pass catcher. There's a lot of things he brings to the table. Similar speed to Dalvin Cook coming out of Florida State. And there's so much tread left on these tires with Josh Jacobs. He was underutilized at Alabama in that running back by committee. He's a guy that can also return kickoffs for you. His agility is ridiculous. My favorite game of his, I have two actually. If you want to see Josh Jacobs, the slash and dash killer, the guy that can stick his foot in the ground, make people miss, finish runs, Oklahoma, watch him finish this run. Watch him finish this run. He was outstanding versus Oklahoma in the playoff game. But if you want to see Josh Jacobs, the beast, the finisher, you turn on the Mississippi State game. And he closed those boys out. Tua left the game with an injury. He closed those boys out. They ran 4-minute offense from about the 9-minute mark, and he went to work. So Josh Jacobs is the pick. We'll see what the Raiders decide to do with 27. But this is my list of backs. Jacobs is now gone. I don't expect anyone else to be drafted out of this position tonight. But you will see a ton of these names come off this list tomorrow, and we will be here tomorrow for the Louie T draft party live day number 2. Sean McKenzie says, Oakland takes Jacobs. Seems like a bit of a reach for me. Not a reach at all for me. This is right around where I thought he would go. So I don't think this is a reach at all, to be honest. Gregory Lightbody says, who you want the Skins to draft in the second round? I think now that you have drafted a quarterback, and this has nothing to do with Haskins, because I don't expect him to play at all this year. I think it is imperative that you attack the guard position, but the fact that no receivers have been taken brings joy to my heart, because the Redskins need a true number 1 wide receiver. And if the first round continues to play out the way that it's gone, the Ravens are going, I think the first receiver comes off the board here. And I think it's A.J. Brown. That's what I think is going to happen here. Now, it could be Hollywood, but I think it's A.J. Brown. Bottom line here is, and we'll get back to real time here. Bottom line is, I look at what the Ravens are about to do is they're about to pull the lid off of the receiver position. And what I'm hoping doesn't happen is Indy takes a receiver right after them. Green Bay takes a receiver at 30. Seattle takes a receiver. And then all of a sudden, we go from no receivers to 4 taken at the back end of the first round. That's very realistic here. New England takes a receiver at 32. These are all possibilities. Like, the receiver market could really be abused here in the next 7 picks to finish up this first round. And if that does happen, that doesn't bode well for the Redskins getting a top flight receiver. If this trend continues, and let's say only 2 receivers go in these final 7 picks, I like our chances to score a big-time receiver. I told you, my top 5 things that are going to happen. Redskins are going to trade back was one of them. Redskins going to select a quarterback was the number 1 thing. They did that. Number 2 was the Redskins are going to draft a wide receiver. That's going to happen. When and how? I told you it was going to be in the first 3 picks. I think that they're going to get a receiver in round 2. I really believe that, because I think by the time they get to their second round pick, you're going to get towards the back end of the depth of the receiver group, of the elites, of the guys that could truly be a number 1 receiver in this league. You're going to be right on the fringe of that with Hakeem Butler and some of those guys. If you don't take one of those guys at that point, you're not going to get another chance. Then you're going to be fooling around with the Keelan Dawsons of the world and those kind of guys. That's when you get into that other group of wide receivers. And at that point, I think you find yourself in quite the quandary. And you end up with a scenario like the one I posed with my Redskins 7-round mock. So we'll see what happens. Drew Lock is not going to be drafted most likely in the first round. I take that back. Someone's going to take Drew Lock in the end of this first round. You want that 5th-year option. I'm shocked that he fell so low, though. I really am. I'm shocked. So we'll see what happens. Ravens, I think, are going receiver here. Let's get to your comments. All right. Reese says, Deshaun Watson was sacked 62 times last year. Holy horseshit, he says. Colts fan says, Lou, I'm laughing at the Texans reaching for Howard. You should be laughing. I don't know what the hell that was about. I know they needed help at offensive line. That's not the way you go about it. It really isn't. Again, that's one of the picks. When I go back 3 years from now and I start looking at this draft, that's one of the picks I'm circling and I'm coming back to see how that worked out for him. Because there were other if you wanted to go offensive line that bad, there were other offensive linemen on the board that would have fit a need. So we'll see. You know, maybe his upside is what they were looking for. His athleticism was what they were looking for. I don't know. Cloud says Texans reached hard. I like Howard, but they could have gotten him later. I feel the same way. I think they could have gotten him in the second round. He would have been there. I firmly believe that. But look, you know my mantra, you know my motto. Get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy. And that's what they did. I'm not going to knock them for it. Here's the Ravens pick. I think we're going to see our first receiver come off the board here.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Marquise Brown.
Hollywood! Hollywood! Hollywood Brown, my number one receiver on the board, comes off the board first. It makes a lot of sense. I feel for every team in that division. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati. He's what Cincinnati thought John Ross was going to be. He's about to tear shit up. I really feel like I'm slipping. I'm falling. I got to get up. Get back on my feet so I can tear shit up. That's how Marquise Brown feels. Hey, yo, I'm slipping. I'm falling. I just had this surgery. Hey, yo, I'm slipping. I'm falling. I'm got to get up. Get back on my feet so I can tear shit up. He about to tear that division up. Tear this shit up. All right? Nobody in that division can check him. All right? I'm just telling you right now. Nobody wants to smoke with this dude. AFC North, my deepest apologies. My deepest apologies. This dude is the next coming of Deshaun Jackson. Matter of fact, let's get to my wide receiver group because he was my number one wide receiver on the board as Indy is now on the clock. And I already told you who the comp is, but in case you didn't believe me, we're going to take a look at his comp. And you already know. You already know who the comp is. It's Deshaun Jackson. And, boy, D-Jax is still doing it at a high level. I hate the fact that he's back in the division with the Eagles. Brown is about to tear y'all ass a new asshole. Whew. I'm just glad he's not in my division. Put it that way. I might have to deal with Deshaun Jackson for the next 2 years, maybe 3. You're going to have to deal with Marquise Brown for the next 7 to 10 years. Good luck with that. If he stays healthy, he's a problem. That's all I'm going to say to you. All right, so my number one wide receiver, he's off the board. Hollywood! Let's just hope that there's not this crazy run on wide receivers now because I feel it in my bones that it's coming. I really do. I really feel like there's a run. Cole Reedy! Whoa, we got to trade, Redskins! Whoa! Trade! We back! Oh! Hold on! We found something we want. I don't know what the hell this is. This might be DK Metcalf. I hope it's not DK Metcalf, but this might be DK Metcalf. What could we possibly want at 26? Oh! I said the Redskins were going to trade. I didn't think they were going to trade up. But I'm excited now. Now my heart wasn't beating fast at 15. My heart's beating fast now. What the hell are we up to? Shit just got interesting. Shit just got real. Hey, we back. Redskin fans, where y'all at? MP says, do we slide back in tonight, bro, or get some speed? I don't know. Let's see what we're up to. I tell you this. Jay Gruden, in order to keep his job, if you got Case Keenum at quarterback, you have to have somebody to throw the football to. I told you, if we stayed in the second round, we were going to be on the fringe of the wide receiver group. We need a number one wide receiver. All right? This has to be for a receiver. I think the Redskins love DK Metcalf. I don't. But I don't hate him at 26. I would have hated the pick at 15. I don't hate DK Metcalf at 26. I don't love him at 26 either because we don't have a real number one. He needs to be on a team with a legit number one wide receiver. But DK said it himself at the Combine. He was most impressed with the Redskins. I think the Redskins were very impressed with him. And he's the type of guy that you can just throw the football to on a hitch. And with his type of speed, he could catch a slant and go much faster than slow. So, I really think the Redskins, I told you the Redskins were coming out of this draft with some type of speed at receiver. I'd love to double down on speed and get Johnny Dixon like in the 6th or 7th round. I'd love to do that, add another speedster. But we bat like cook crack in this draft. I don't know what the hell for. I'm assuming wide receiver. I'm assuming DK Metcalf. I'm just telling you right now, this smells, this feels like DK Metcalf. I'm not a huge DK Metcalf fan, but boy, we need some help at receiver. It's bad over there, man. It's bad. I don't think this is for an edge rusher. That's another position of note. And the fact that we traded back in with the Colts, I want to see what the compensation is. I'm a little nervous because we just came way up. So you could be talking about our first round pick next year. Unless we gave them our second round pick this year. I need to know what compensation is. But let me get to the comment section. Because I know Redskins fans are probably in here. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. MP says, can you say AJ? I don't know, man. I would prefer AJ. Let's see. JP Lavecchio says, I'm predicting Montez Sweat. That's a good prediction. I didn't even think about him. That's possible. You know what? If the medical checks out, Montez Sweat, I wouldn't be, you know what? I would be more excited about that than I would a receiver, but I'm a little nervous about the heart. You know, everybody else passed on him for a reason, but if the heart checks out, could it be Montez Sweat in front of the Raiders, who probably would have taken Sweat? Little gamesmanship. Gruden jumping in front of Gruden here. Sweat could have been the pick for the Raiders at 27. Redskins say, not exactly. I think it's a receiver still. You got Case Keenum. You have no elite threat out at wide receiver. I think this is still a receiver here. But it could be Montez Sweat. You're absolutely right. Let's keep going and seeing what else you guys have to say. Reese says, I hope Hollywood isn't an asswipe like Deshaun Jackson. Well, you know, he's cousins. He's a cousin to Antonio Brown. So there's that. Sean Mack says, stop that nonsense, bro. Denzel Ward is going to lock his ass up. Okay. You say. We'll see about that. Reese says, maybe now Lamar can learn to throw beyond the line of scrimmage. He doesn't have to with Hollywood. Hollywood! He can just get it to him and Hollywood can do the rest. Sean Mack says, well, Ravens offense just got a bit harder to stop for my Browns. Damn sure did. Reese says, Hollywood, man, this guy fell right into their lap. BE says, if the Cardinals can get N'Keal Harry, wow, just picture our offense with Cowler, DJ, Kirk, and Harry, and Larry there to mentor them both for this year. That would be something to see for sure. 49ers need a receiver, he says, so I'm liking this. All right, let's go down some more to see what else you guys are saying. JP says, Colts got the 46th pick in a 2020 second rounder and the rest. Okay, I'm cool with that. 2 second rounders because we don't know what the hell to do with a second round pick any goddamn way. So I'm all for giving up the second round pick because we don't know what the hell to do with a second round pick. We stink in the second round. MP says, N'Keal Harry or Montez Sweat. Archangel says, Lou, a guard though? Nah, not here. You don't trade up here for. You can wait and get a guard in the second round. They're not trading up for a guard here. Let's see. Oh, he's talking about his team. Here's the pick, Redskin fans. Here we go.
The Indianapolis Colts have traded the 26th pick to the Washington Redskins. And with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Montez Sweat.
Sweat! They made us sweat it out. We got us an edge rusher, goddammit. We got us an edge rusher. I hope and pray that nothing's wrong with this man's heart because we just got ourselves an edge rusher with some speed, goddammit. Man, this is now officially JP. The offseason is a home run. We're not done yet, though. We still got to attack wide receiver. We still got to attack, which just got a lot harder without having a second round pick. I think now you find yourself in a position where you're not going to get anything elite in this draft at receiver. However, I'd much rather pass up on anything at receiver for a shot at this guy. What he brings to the table, he's so raw. But I'm going to tell you right now, if this guy is what I think he is, which is he's got the potential to be Julius Peppers maybe 4 years down the road. Right now, I liken him to Ziggy Ansah. He's still really raw. And remember, he was a tight end at Michigan State before he got suspended for weed and transferred to a JUCO and then ended up coming to Mississippi State. But when you just look at this guy, he's got so much to learn, and he hasn't even scratched the surface. Just with his length and his speed alone, this guy's a problem. And he's not only just a problem in the pass game, he's a problem in the run game as well. We got ourselves a steal, man. I feel damn good about what we've just done. And I love the fact that that's our second round pick right there. That's our second round pick. He's worth a second round pick. I like what we've done tonight. Got us a franchise quarterback of the future and an edge rusher to help now. I don't know how you can't be ecstatic about what has been done tonight if you're a Redskins fan. Yeah, I would have preferred Drew Lock. I would love the Redskins. We still can get – the draft isn't over. We can still get us a wide receiver in the third round. We got 2 third-round picks. I don't think anything elite will be there. We still got to attack the guard position. I think that is the next biggest need when I look at this football team. The guard position will be ravaged at the point because I thought that the Redskins were going to attack the guard position with their first of 2 third-round picks. So let me hear what they have to say. Hold on.
Talking to some teams, they like the football ability. They obviously like what he did at the combine. As far as the heart goes, some teams took him off the board medically, but basically had the idea that it would simply be a guy that had some risk, but not big risk with that heart, and you just would need to monitor him every year. But some teams also said he did not interview well, did not pass their psychological test that they preferred for a defensive player. And when I spoke to Brian Baker, who was his defensive line coach at Mississippi State, down at Alabama, one thing that he said, and he said he talked to teams about this, he said if he needs to go to the right team with the right coach, he does not respond to somebody yelling at him, pushing them too much. He said he'll be a good player in the league if he gets the right coach with the right team.
And he was viewed as a top player, and I think the Washington Redskins come out ahead here because a lot of people thought they'd have to trade up.
So you heard what they said. He's one of those guys that's a little delicate in terms of coaching. All right. You can't yell at this guy. He does not respond. I know people that shut down when you yell at them. That's not their modus of operandi. That's not how they operate. All right. They don't operate well in that environment. Football is one of those environments. You've got to have a coach that understands that. If the Redskins understand that, hopefully they've done their homework. They could have themselves a steal here at the back end of the first round. I'm excited. We haven't seen an elite edge rusher in Washington. I think you'd have to go all the way back to LeVar Arrington in the 1 year with Marty when he had 10.5 sacks. That was the last time we had an elite edge rusher. I don't think we've had one since. And I know a lot of Redskins fans keep talking about Ryan Kerrigan. Stop. And Ryan Kerrigan's a good football player. He's not elite. We have a chance to get something elite here. So we'll see. DMV Pride says Redskins should just trade their 2 third-rounders to get back into the second round and draft a receiver. There's not much value after the second round. I agree. Raiders are up. Their pick is in. Let's see who they take.
With the 27th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Jonathan Abram.
So, Jonathan Abram was my first safety on the board out of Mississippi State. So, he comes off the board a mere 6 picks after my second safety comes off the board. And I told you, I thought the safety position would come off faster than the cornerback position. We're at pick 28. We still haven't had a single cornerback come off the board yet. So that tells you about the cornerback position in this year's draft and how people feel about it. It's low down on the totem pole. Jonathan Abram is a high energy, high intensity, balls to the wall football player that I absolutely love. That's why he was number 1 on my board. He's going to miss some tackles. He's going to overrun some things. But this is a guy that plays the game with a reckless abandon that if you can't enjoy, then you don't love football. Because the way he plays the game is with a level of recklessness that it's just fun to watch. It's like watching a car accident on every play with this dude. He's coming up to hit somebody hard. And he's going to let you know about it when he's done. He's going to talk some shit when he's through. So look at him run. Look at him run here. Look at him run. I mean, this is a guy that's an athlete. And he's an athlete that plays with bad intentions. I love it. That's why he was my number 1 safety on the board. And the Raiders loved it too. Oh, woo! I love watching this dude play, man. He's fun to watch. So, love that pick by the Oakland Raiders there. And that's 2 defensive players, 1 offensive player for the Raiders in the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft. Nick Riley says, no question about your squad is killing it today. Sean Mack says, I'm calling it right now. Montez Sweat will be a camp holdout because of the fall and where he should have gone. You heard it here first. Hashtag Lab Room Fam. I don't see that. With the rookie wage scale and where guys are slotted nowadays, you don't see holdouts anymore. I think the only time we've seen holdouts are for that offset language with players. I don't see that. Atlas says, time to bust out your Jonathan Allen moment now. For the second time in 3 years, we've gotten a player we had no business getting in the first round on the defensive side of football at a position of need. Got Jonathan Allen a couple of years ago. Now we're getting Montez Sweat. And Montez Sweat looks like Julius Peppers. They could be twins, Ree says. I said that during my combine coverage. He's the similar size to Julius Peppers, and he looks like him kind of. Let's get to my... Klaus says, nice pick, Lou. We're still going to shut him down, though, LOL. Well, that's why you had to draft Andre Dillard, because you're going to need him to stop Sweat off that edge. Sean Mack says, yeah, Redskins made a damn good pick. Sweat is going to be good. Let's see. Reese says, every time I see the LAC abbreviation, I think of the Clippers. Sean Mack says, you said it exactly right about Abram. He's reckless. As a fan, I love it. As a teammate or coach, I hate it because it causes problems at times. Good player, though. He's one of those guys I like to refer to as controlled chaos. He's out of control a lot of times, but he is able to operate inside of that chaos and madness that he plays with. And so it's a reckless abandon that it's fun to watch, and it's not like he's out of position. He's just going to miss some tackles. That's his biggest problem. It's not that he's out of position. I would be frustrated as a teammate if a guy is out of position. He's not out of position often. His problem is that he'll be in the right spot and he'll just overrun it because he's like the Tasmanian devil. And just run right by the guy. But you got to love the energy. And like I said with Oliver earlier in the draft, you got to love that zest and that energy and the life that he plays the game with. You got to love it. Ali Saad says, Carl Joseph and Jonathan Abram. That's some Madden stuff. Back in the day, that would have been a hell of a safety tandem. Both of them over 90 speed. All right. Both of them can hit. Oh, man, that's some hit stick waiting for your ass. I don't want to go back down that road. That takes me back to a deep and dark place in my life where I was a manic game head. All right. I don't want to go back there. Reese says, Abram is the quintessential Oakland Raider. He has Raider written all over him. Derek B says, back like Cook crack in the first round, and we need speed. And we got it in the worst way right after a long day in Montez Sweat. And now you look at this Redskins front seven. I'm not saying, and we're not done yet. I'm just saying. You add in Reuben Foster. You look at Sean Dion Hamilton, who we think is going to be faster in year 2 after surgery. He looked good last year at the end of the season. He's going to be faster now. You look at the front four. You got Sweat, Kerrigan. You got Ioannidis, Payne, Allen. You got Caleb Brantley. Looks like Drew Lock might be a Los Angeles Charger. That'd be a great spot for him. And I tell you what, if he goes, I pray he doesn't go to New England. Oh, shit. He go to New England, he'll be the second coming of Brady in New England. And I wouldn't like that at all. I'd rather him go to Los Angeles with the Chargers. I can stomach him there because I think the dude's going to be a stud. And I can much rather stomach him there than in New England behind Brady. So, even though Brady could play another 5 years and they could never see this kid on the field. And they could get Jimmy Garoppolo again. But I don't know. I'm just talking. Anyway, Derek B says probably second and one of the 2/3. So it was 2 seconds. If what my man JP reported is correct, or somebody else reported, somebody said it was 2 seconds. This year second, next year second. And I believe that's it. And let's see. Reese says, these early second round teams are going to get first round caliber players. Netzel's Toy says, I swear if the Seahawks don't pick a player in the first round, I'm throwing my chair out the window. They can't possibly trade back again. They got the next 2 picks in the first round. No way they're trading those. They're going to take a player. All right. But you said they were going to trade last time and you were right. Here's the Chargers pick. I think it's going to be Drew Lock.
With the 28th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Jerry Tillery.
Oh, it's a defensive lineman, which is what I mocked them. I didn't mock them Jerry Tillery, though. I mocked them Christian or Dexter Lawrence. Well, he's gone, obviously. So Jerry Tillery is the pick. You know I'm a huge Jerry Tillery fan. He's a Notre Dame Fighting Irish alum. And so I love this pick. And I told you as a matter of fact, let's go to my defensive line look and see what we have here now. So now Dexter Lawrence is off the board. Jeffrey Simmons is off the board. Tillery. So of my first 7, 6 out of my first 7 are off the board. The only one left is Tristan Hill. Jerry Tillery off the board at number 28 to the Los Angeles Chargers. And this dude is extremely long. The Stanford game is the one that put him on the map. He was outstanding in that game. I love Jerry Tillery, man. He's going to be a good one. I really believe so. I really, really believe that this guy's going to be a difference maker at the next level. And he did some good things at Notre Dame. He really came into his own this year. He's been inconsistent throughout his career. He really came into his own in 2018. And I think the sky's the limit for him as a football player. He's really just scratching the surface. He's learning how to use his length. And I think when he learns how to use his hands a little bit better, and the quickness is there because he takes such big steps that I think this guy is going to really be a force. 2-3 years down the road, we're talking about Jerry Tillery as a potential 8, 9, 10 sack guy. You know what I mean? He's got that kind of potential. So there's that. Let's I thought Drew Lock was going to go there, man. I'm actually feeling bad for my man Drew Lock. I really am. Because if he doesn't go to New England now, and I don't want him to go there, but if he doesn't go to New England, he's not going in the first round now. Somebody's going to take him in the first round, you would think. And if Seattle's going to trade out, you would think it would be one of these picks because somebody wants to come into the first round and get that 5th-year option on the quarterback. So I would assume that they would be making a pick here. JP says, that was a horrible impression of the Tasmanian Devil. That sounds like you just smoked meth. I thought that was a pretty good Tasmanian Devil, man. I thought I sounded like Taz just now. Derek B says, on second thought, we really suck at drafting wide receiver. Give me Sweat. And I think somebody said, hey, let's just package up the 2 third-rounders for a receiver in the second round. I'm good because we have too many holes for that. We still need a guard. And if you trade away both of your third-round picks, you're not coming away with a guard worth a damn. We're not good enough as evaluators to say, all right, we're going to get a guard in the 4th or 5th round. Mind you, we don't have a 4th-round pick. So if you trade your 2 third-rounders, you don't have another pick until the 5th round. That doesn't sound like something we need to be signing up for. When we still have holes at receiver, guard most notably, safety is still an issue unless they believe in Monte Nicholson. Tight end is still something that I think they need to address. So I think you stay pat. You stand pat at your 2 picks in the 3rd round. Robert Reed says, heard that the Skins only gave up next year's 2nd round pick for Sweat. This year's 2nd and next year's 2nd. Sean Mack says, somebody timestamp Lou doing the Tasmanian Devil and send it to him. He should have put this on his intro music. Laughing my ass off. Hey, go ahead. Sean Mack says, Chargers reach. I wouldn't have personally selected Tillery there, even though I like him. Tillery was my 7th rated defensive lineman in this draft. But if they didn't take him here, they weren't going to get him. So I won't beat him up for it. John Perez says, Montez Sweat to the Skins. Wow, this night just got better. I thought it would be N'Keal Harry. I thought it would, but he said, but I'll take a pass rusher. And JP says, we got our pass rusher. Give me them damn cookies. Yum, yum, eat them up. Yum, yum, eat them up. I love it. Reese says, you know what, Redskins picking Sweat reminds me of, Lou? You guys gave the Raiders that Michael Jordan shrug. Mind Draw says, what up, Lou? What do you think about the Lions fans who are afraid TJ Hawkinson is Easy E? Eric Ebron 2.0. First of all, Eric Ebron wasn't much of a blocker. Number 2, Hawkinson is a complete football player. With Eric Ebron, there was always this notion of 1, he's a guy that can get hurt. 2, he's going to drop some passes in some inopportune times. And as I mentioned, 3, okay, so, this is the trade already we knew about with Frank Clark. And 3, he wasn't that much of a threat in the run game as a blocker. You're getting all of those things in TJ Hawkinson. He's coming in. He's going to catch almost everything you throw his way. He's going to get even better as a route runner. He's a really good athlete, underrated as an athlete. He's a dominant run blocker in a league where tight end blocking has been devalued. He's going to come in and be a dual threat in a league that doesn't feature many dual threat tight ends. Not to mention, This is a guy that doesn't get hurt. So I said all of that to say this. You got yourself a top-rated tight end at a time where you had to select him or you weren't going to get him. For all the Lions fans that think you got Eric Ebron 2.0, Noah Fant is more, you got the wrong Iowa tight end. Noah Fant is more of Easy E than TJ Hawkinson is. You got yourself a hell of a football player. Let's see. Sean Mack says, they just played the trailer for the Brian Banks movie. Remember, I was super pissed about the whole situation and thought he was innocent from day one. Bet your ass I'm watching it. Reese says, Drew Lock looks as young as, he said, Drew Lock looks young as hell. Dude looks like he just stepped out of the womb. Drew Lock does look young. I like Drew Lock a lot. And I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I really do. For my man Netzel Toy out there, the Seahawks pick is in. You're making a selection. I actually think these next two picks are both going to be selections. I wouldn't be shocked if you traded 30, though, for a team that wanted to jump back into the first round. But to me, the hot spot to trade back into the first round would be 31. In front of New England. You don't need to get in front of the Rams. They just signed Blake Bortles. They're not looking for another quarterback right now. The move would be, if you want to get back into the first round to get you a quarterback, the move would be to get in front of New England. And the Rams are definitely open for business. So that's what I think I see happening now as I look at the back end of this draft as we're winding down the first round. What I see is I see somebody coming back into the first round in front of New England to get Drew Lock. That's what I see. Netzel Toy says, my chair has been spared. Yeah, I told you you're going to make a pick, man. Now, the question is this DK Metcalf? I think this is one of two players. I think this is DK Metcalf, or I think this is Chase Winovich. Or it could be Jalen Ferguson. Those are my three picks here. Or it could be an offensive lineman. There are plenty of those left too. I like one of the first two I said. Chase Winovich or DK Metcalf here at 29. All right. Derek B says, Bruce gave up this year's and next year's second round picks and walked away happy that he can't F them up. You know, I was trying to get rid of them. Look, we haven't, I talked about this numerous times on the Redskins report, just how bad we are with second rounders. The answer to that isn't getting rid of your second round picks. At some point, you have to be better. But in this particular case, it was well worth it if Sweat is the guy that we think he's capable of being. Muhammad Ali Zerbo says, Irv Smith in the third. Dieter. Hold on. I just got a wave of. Young Deck says, are Greedy and DK getting drafted in the first round? I all along said DK Metcalf wasn't a first round pick to me. So if he didn't go in the first round, I think that would be the rest of the league saying, yeah, that was all media driven hype on this guy. The people in the know. If you watch football close enough and examine the game, then you know DK Metcalf wasn't worth a first round pick. Okay? Don't be fooled by the athleticism and the freaky body fat and all that stuff. Yeah, he's a height, weight, speed specimen, but he's not a football player yet. So, but he can still go in the first round. We still got 4 picks left. He can still go in the first round. Now, Greedy getting drafted in the first round, it wouldn't shock me if he didn't. I told you I didn't have another corner going in the first round. I only had one. Well, we haven't seen any go in the first round. It's not surprising to me at all. Robert Gamble says, I said we were going to get Haskins plus icing on the cake with Sweat. That's crazy. We Hauling It says, Lou, how do you feel about the Skins picks? What's your grade so far? How can you not be satisfied with what the Redskins have done in day one? You have to come away from day one feeling like you've won. Won what? I don't know, but you feel like you've won something. We don't know how good these players are going to be, but just going off of what you've seen, you've got hope for the future at the quarterback position, which we haven't had. Even with Alex Smith, that wasn't hope for the future. That was a stopgap. Now you got hope for the future with Haskins. Even if this season, which I still think is going to hell in a handbasket, even if this season is a lost cause, say week 11, guess what you get to do as a Redskins fan? Those last 6 games of the season, they mean something now. Because Dwayne Haskins is getting in the game, and we're going to watch him develop. Hopefully, it's not behind a patchwork offensive line that's forcing him to get his ass whooped. But if we're not good by week 11, it's not like turning on the TV and saying, oh, shit, Case Keenum versus the Cowboys in week 12. Who wants to watch this bullshit? We actually have a legit reason to tune in. So there's hope for the future. And then you get a guy that can help you right now in Montez Sweat. I wonder what number he's going to wear. Maybe 99. I don't think we have a 99 on the roster. I feel good about the picks, just so you know. Ryan Heath says, what are you thinking about the Skins draft so far? I just talked about that. Muhammad Ali Zerbo says, Irv Smith in the third, Dieter, Bama edge rusher. I don't think we're going with another Bama edge rusher, although I can see us going with another Bama player and safety Deontay Thompson, if he's still available in the third. We love our Bama players. We haven't taken one yet. So that's definitely a possibility. Irv Smith won't be there in the third round. He'll be the next tight end off the board. I can all but guarantee you that. Likely Phenomenon says, I knew you would be happy with Haskins. Hashtag Louie T Live, he says. Gregory Lightbody says, you think the Skins should trade both of their thirds and move up into the second? No. I'm not a fan of that because we still have too many needs. And remember, it would be less of a risk doing that if you still had a 4th round pick. Remember, we don't have a 4th round pick in this draft. The second, third rounder, that compensatory pick, that's what's going to serve as our 4th round pick. And so trading both of those to move up into the second, yes, you would get an impactful player most likely, but the problem with that is you're not going to be able to attack one of those positions that we really desperately need in receiver and or guard. You're going to miss out on one of them when you can possibly get both of them taken care of. Now, you might not get the same caliber of player that you would get if you package those 2 picks up and move into the second round, but I'm more along the lines of, hey, we have so many holes. I'd rather take a Band-Aid and put a Band-Aid on each of them than let one of them bleed. Here's the first of 2 picks for the Seattle Seahawks.
2019 NFL Draft. The Seattle Seahawks select L.J. Collier, defensive end,
Okay.
TCU.
L.J. Collier is the pick. A little high for me, but this is what the Seahawks do. They reach for players in the first round. They did it with Rashad Penny last year. L.J. Collier, as a matter of fact, let's go to my edge rusher list. I don't even think he's on my list. And I actually like L.J. Collier. Let me preference what I'm saying with this. So L.J. Collier would be the next guy, number 10. All right, on this list. He's actually number 10. If I were to go to 10, he'd be the next guy you would see. Seahawks trade the pick to the Giants. So you know what this pick is, right? You know this is Drew Lock. We got to trade. Wait, I'm tripping. They already drafted a quarterback. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. But what I'm not tripping about is we got to trade. Told you the Seahawks was going to trade that other pick. Hey, Netzel's toy, at least your chair was spared, like you said. But we got to trade. So this is, what did the Giants draft at 17? I'm trying to think. It's been so long ago. And the pick is in. So
Back in for a third first-round pick. My goodness, what are they going to do?
The Seattle Seahawks have traded the 30th pick to the New York Giants. With the 30th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select DeAndre Baker,
okay.
back Georgia.
So they pop the top on the cornerback position and get DeAndre Baker. I like Baker. He is my third corner in this draft. Greedy Williams is 1. Rock Ya-Sin is 2. Baker is 3. And I like DeAndre Baker a lot, man. To me, he lacks the ability to be, I think, a star at the next level. But I think he is. The Rams trade their pick to the Falcons. I told you that the Rams were getting out of the first round. And I told you we were going to see a lot of trades back into the first round. The Falcons got a guard the first time around. I'd like to think that this is for a defensive tackle here. If this is, I'm thinking it's too early to be drafting Matt Ryan's replacement in Drew Lock. So I'd like to think that this has to be either an edge rusher or a defensive tackle, because that's what they really wanted early on. So we got to trade. So Dexter Lawrence was the pick that I had forgot about at 17. They get Baker. They're revamping this defense. They still need an edge rusher. Maybe they get that. I don't know what they had to give up to move back into the first round. We'll find out all the draft details and trade details. Same thing with this Atlanta trade. The Falcons have come up to 31. I'm anticipating this being either a tackle, because I remember when they drafted Chris Lindstrom, I said, you still got an issue at tackle. So I'm anticipating that this is either a tackle or a tackle, meaning either as a defensive tackle or an offensive tackle. It could be an edge rusher, like Chase Winovich. They could be replacing Brooks Reed here with another long-haired rusher in Chase Winovich. But if I'm Atlanta, this smells like Tristan Hill out of UCF, or it smells like an offensive tackle. To me, that's what you trade back up into the first round for here, just to make sure that you get your guy. And you get that 5th-year option on him, so he's a little bit cheaper. That's what I'm assuming this is. So that's my guess. It's a tackle either way. Defensive tackle or offensive tackle. Now, as for the Giants and the DeAndre Baker selection, I was saying before the trade by the Rams out of 31 to the Falcons, he doesn't have star quality to me. He, to me, is one of these guys that will be someone that after his 4th year in the league, you're debating back and forth whether you should pick up the 5th-year option or not. He's good enough to pick up the 5th-year option, but you're not quite sure if you want to or not. So that's how I feel about DeAndre Baker. We'll see what he ultimately ends up being in this league. But here's the pick for the Falcons. Let's see if I'm right.
The Los Angeles Rams have traded the 31st pick to the Atlanta Falcons. With the 31st pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Caleb McGarry.
Tackle. So I was right. Offensive tackle. And remember, when they made the selection earlier in the draft at guard, I said, you still have a glaring need at tackle. But they went with value, and Chris Lindstrom was the better value there at guard. And this is the thing. You see how they traded back in the first round and got a tackle of good value in Caleb McGarry? You weren't going to be able to trade back into the first round and get Chris Lindstrom. So that was the thought process there was, hey, we can come back and get us a tackle What we can't do is come back and get Chris Lindstrom. So they've refurbished and revamped their offensive line tonight in the first round. And I'm telling you that this is probably Drew Lock here at 32. And it's a damn shame that they get Drew Lock at 32 because he's going to be really good. I'm convinced. I think they're going to get Drew Lock here. Get him on a 5th-year option. It makes too much sense. That way, if Brady decides he wants to play 4 more years, you'll still be able to hold on to this guy. In any event, let's get to the comment section. All right. Let's get up here and see. Reese says, no. We hauling it says, do you think Skins trade the comp picks and a 5th for a 2nd? Nah. Again, we got too many holes to be giving away picks. As much as I would like to come up and get something in the 2nd round, I don't want to do it at the expense of being able to throw multiple darts at the dartboard. We're not in a position to do that. You know, you do that when you're the Eagles. When you're a never, ever trust a man with 2 first names, Alshon Jeffrey, drop away from potentially playing in the NFC Championship game again, because I thought that they were fully capable of winning that NFC Championship game and getting back to the Super Bowl. You know, we're not there. We're not even remotely close. We need multiple positions addressed. Tight end, guard, wide receiver, safety. You trade away multiple picks to move up to get one guy, you're not going to address multiple positions. I don't think you're in a position to do that. If anything, the Redskins should be trying to trade back to pick up more picks. Wouldn't be surprised if they did that. I'm not saying that's what they should do, but that's something they should be considering, knowing that they have a lot of needs. So we'll see what they decide to do. But nonetheless, Reese says, who are your top 3 best available right now? Hard for me to really say. I guess this is when a big board would actually come in handy. But after I sit down and analyze what's been done tonight, I'd be able to come back and tell you. Obviously, Drew Lock is my number 1 player on the board right now. I don't have a big board. I don't do a big board, but Drew Lock should have been gone in my mind. And the fact that he's still sitting here at 32, he's number 1 on my board for sure. If you ask me top 3, after Drew Lock, I think you start looking at these receivers. N'Keal Harry, A.J. Brown, those are guys that are available. Irv Smith Jr. at the tight end position, he's available. Let's go through quickly. Quarterback, obviously Drew Lock is still available. None of those other guys were first-round picks. Running back position, none of those guys, other than Josh Jacobs, was a first-round pick. Wide receiver, which is interesting. There's going to be a run on these guys early in day 2. So I'd say N'Keal and AJ would be, I guess, my 2 and 3 right now that are available. I'll take that back. I think Greedy would be 2nd after Drew Lock. And then N'Keal Harry and A.J. Brown would round out my top 3 available players left. You get to Irv Smith Jr. He's going to go off the board relatively early in day 3. Dalton Reisner is another guy that I'm shocked. I actually thought that when the Falcons came back up, he'd be the guy that they'd come up for. But, I'm amazed that Dillard's gone. And you're left with guys that I thought would be left other than Dalton Reisner. I thought he would go in the first round. I really did. And I think where he should have went was to the Texans. I think they were the ones that stopped Dalton Reisner from being a first-round pick. But again, we'll see. The Falcons came back into the first round, and they didn't take Dalton Reisner either. So I don't know what that says about him or not. But nonetheless, you go to the D-line, and everyone in my top 7 is gone except for Tristan Hill. So you've got 3 guys left out of my top 9. And we knew the defensive line was going to be ravaged in day 1, and it was. You go to the edge rushers. Number 1 is gone. Number 2 is gone. Number 3 is gone. Number 4 is gone. Number 5 is gone. Number 7 is gone. And you're left with 6, 8, and 9. You knew edge rusher was going to be ravaged in the first round as well. Linebacker, both of the top 2 gone. Cornerback, only 1 player gone, and that is DeAndre Baker out of Georgia. And in the safety position, 2 have come off the board, and Darnell Savage Jr. and Jonathan Abram, and those were my 1 and 2 at the safety position. So the first round pretty much went the way I thought it would go, with the exception of Drew Lock. Let's see what the Patriots do to wrap up day 1.
The New England Patriots select N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal Harry.
Wide receiver.
I got that one right. I got that one right on my mock draft. Look at me. I said that they were going to get a big playmaking receiver in the draft, the likes of which Tom Brady hasn't really had throughout his career. And they were hoping that Josh Gordon would be that. And we saw what Brady was doing with Gordon. And now they got N'Keal Harry, and he's about to tear shit up with the Patriots. I hate the fact that they got him. I really do, because this guy's so good. You know, he's my favorite receiver in this draft. He's not the best receiver. That's Hollywood Brown. He's my favorite receiver in this draft, though. And he couldn't have went to a better organization. He couldn't have went to a better place. He's going to catch balls. He's going to make plays. The rich get richer, man. That's all I can say, you know. That's all I can say is that the rich just got richer. And I'm proud to say that I predicted that in my mock draft. I need to go back and see how many I got. I didn't hit double digits, but between my 2 mock drafts, the one without trades and the one with trades, I'd say I did pretty damn good. The official mock draft that I put out, the one with trades, if you count Haskins going to the Redskins, Sands for the trade, but I had him going to the Redskins, I probably got about 6 or 7 right, man. That's a career high for me. I'm really excited. So day 1 of the draft is in the books. I'll read a couple more comments and then we'll get out of here. Sean Mack says, incredibly great, awesome pick by New England. My number 2 rated wide receiver. He's so damn happy he gets to play with TB12. LOL. Reese says, put your metaphorical Kango hat on, Lou. If you're Bruce Arians, who do you target on day number 2? It's really hard to say because I think that you lose Adam Humphries, and I know you guys did some work in the draft last year at receiver, but you lose Humphries. Deshaun didn't work out. Maybe receiver is something you target in the early portion of the second round. You already attacked linebacker, so you don't have to worry about that. I'd have to take a look at your roster. I'm trying to think of everything that you need to do. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, what you guys should do. I'm thinking wide receiver. The best value for you will be wide receiver. Only 2 receivers go in the first round. It's going to be some great value there in the second round for you. So that's what I would do. John Perez says, what an offseason this has been for the Redskins. We got Landon Collins, Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat all in the same year, and we got guys coming back healthy. You could look at him as a second-round pick. Derek B says, will the Seahawks ever get Russell Wilson elite offensive talent in the first round? No, they won't. They had a chance to do it this year, and they didn't. Poopin' for Noopin says, who do you think won round 1? It's hard to say. I mean, the Giants did some good things. Obviously, I don't love Daniel Jones, but they love Daniel Jones, and it remains to be seen what happens. I think the Patriots won getting to kill Harry. And I know it's only one pick, but shit, it's one of the best receivers in the draft. You look at what the Raiders did. They got a couple of defensive players that they really feel like can help in Abram and Farrell. And then they add Josh Jacobs to the running back position. So you feel good about that if you're the Raiders. The Packers got them a safety, and they got themselves a edge rusher. And I thought it was a little bit of a reach for Gary. I want to be modest, but you got to say the Redskins had a hell of a draft in day one, getting the quarterback of the future, obviously, in Dwayne Haskins, and then coming back and getting a guy that probably was top 15 on most people's board, but because of the heart situation, and maybe somewhat of a evaluation situation too. He didn't pass a lot of these teams' eval at the combine. Whatever. We'll see if that matters, but you got to say that the Redskins had a hell of a day. So, also, you got to love what the Broncos were able to do. The Steelers were able to do. Getting what I perceive to be the best linebacker in this draft, in Devin Bush. So, I think a lot of these teams feel like they came out like gangbusters. And we'll see what happens, Day 2, I'm going to be back tomorrow, like cook crack, to do this again. Read a couple more comments. Reese says, I think DK Metcalf could find a nice home being alongside Mike Evans with Godwin in the slot. I think wide receiver is where I would go. Reese says, if by some miracle Reisner falls to 39, I turn my card in quicker than a hiccup. Poopin' Fanupin says, I got ya. My goal was to make sure you say the Skins won round 1. I was trying to be modest, but you can't help but feel like the Redskins did some really good things. Reese says, we waited so long for this day, Lou, and it goes by so fast. Doesn't it always? Kevin says, Dalton Reisner in the second and Andy Isabella in the third for the Packers isn't too shabby. Not at all. But you got to hope that Reisner falls to you. I can't see him getting past the first 10 picks in the second round. I just can't. I can't. Sean Mack says, I think Nashville is using their 4th of July fireworks budget on this light show. You're probably right. I mean, really, what are they saving them for? I mean, the Memphis Horned Frogs of the AAA affiliate? Like, what are they? It's a minor league baseball town. Like, what are they saving it for, right? Cloud says, nah, Metcalf can find a nice home with the Eagles alongside Henderson and Sanders. A lot of people want DK in the second. Nobody wanted him in the first. A lot of people trying to step up and get him in the second. So it should be a lot of fun. Day number 2. I'll be back to guide you through day number 2. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. It's been quite a ride, day 1 of the 2019 NFL Draft. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. A little bit earlier. I think day 2 starts at around 7, so we'll be here earlier, but nonetheless, same channel, same fun. Thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. I will see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. See you tomorrow. Have a good one.